Chapter 741 King Jin claims the throne. Liang Wang breaks the formation _2. The rest of you, follow me. Continue the pursuit. Quema Valley. It is a narrow mountain path. Most people can only move forward along this road. Chun Sansi absolutely would not allow these 100,000 defeated soldiers to cause harm elsewhere. He led his troops forward. In Quema Valley, he slaughtered for 200 miles. Once again, he cut down more than 50,000 enemies. Until the remaining were killed into submission. He captured them completely and found ways to properly settle them. After leaving Quema Valley, there were many prefecture cities and county towns ahead. The exhausted Hongzha camp soldiers finally received supplies, gathering 1,000 warhorses along the way. Chun Sansi left the rest behind to settle the captives, and led 1,000 men straight to Qiantang Prefecture. Going there and back, another 20+ days were delayed. Qiantang Prefecture was under relentless attack day and night. King Jin, Chao Huan, and others were not idle either. They dispatched an army of 50,000, moving north to the border of Yulu State, waiting for the right moment to act. 12th brother. Chao Huan personally led the troops. The court used a vile scheme, fabricated a fake Chun Sansi head. Qiantang Prefecture may not hold much longer. Should we try to lead the troops to break the siege at Qiantang Prefecture? Our numbers are too small. It would be a futile death. Chao Ji rejected the proposal. Let's observe first. If my calculations are correct, Hongdu Prefecture has been besieged for half a year with cut-off supplies, and we've lost contact over the past month. You mean? King Jin, Chao Huan said. Do you think General Chun is truly dead? It's uncertain. Chao Ji lay on the grass, head resting on his hands. His fate is tough. He may not die. But in military matters, we must always prepare for multiple possibilities. At least wait for news from Hongdu Prefecture. If he is really dead, we have troops and horses. We can retreat, delay some time, and perhaps wait for a powerful figure in Guiyuan sect to intervene. If he is still alive, we can head north to join forces with him. It won't be too late to find a way to break the enemy. Once we take Qiantang Prefecture, 6th brother, you can declare that father has ascended to the immortal realm and no longer concerns himself with mortal affairs. Then inherit the throne under the pretense of rightful succession. By claiming the title of Emperor of Great Shang Dynasty, we can quickly consolidate control over the entire eastern region and most of the central plains. Then look for an opportunity for a decisive battle. Inherit the throne. King Jin, Chao Huan, listened somewhat dazed. This position, suddenly, it seems so close to him. 12th brother, if we achieve greatness, you will be the greatest contributor. King Jin, Chao Huan gazed at the distant sky. You are right. Over the years father has pursued cultivation, leaving the court in precarious balance. It cannot continue like this. After ascending the throne, I will certainly strive diligently to restore the empire. Additionally, I will issue another decree, declaring to the world that after my passing, 12th brother, you shall inherit the throne. The precedent of brother's endowment followed by brother's succession has happened before in the previous dynasty. It's premature to think about this now. Chao Ji remained calm. The urgent task at hand is to think of a way to resolve the trouble in the capital city. If the inference is correct, father's injury has nearly healed, and he is preparing to establish his foundation. In conclusion, King Jin, Chao Huan muttered, we still rely on General Chun. Our great Shang dynasty truly cannot do without the white robe. The main army cannot go. Chao Ji said, we don't have many cultivators around us. At most we can send 2 cultivators, attempt to break in and tell them the head is fake, and even if they truly face defeat we can still rescue some key figures. Qiantang Prefecture. The siege became increasingly fierce. The Bailiang army within the city also suffered heavy losses. The 15,000-strong army has been rapidly dwindling daily, now down to just 12,000. This isn't even the most troublesome issue. The key is that the court soldiers outside the city constantly proclaim the death of the white robe day and night, and after a period of anger, the morale within the city is starting to show signs of declining. After another full day of fierce battle, the court's troops sounded the retreat. Soldiers came and went, each performing their duties, carrying corpses down from the city walls. Everything within the city seemed lifeless, as if it had lost its mainstay, and all were somewhat confused, not knowing what to do next or why they were fighting. Inside the central army tent, Su Wenkai was holding a wooden box, becoming sentimental at the scene, and couldn't help but shed tears. Sir, Chi Chung said, isn't this the new clothing that the owner of the tailor shop sent you in Lai State last time? Why don't you wear it, and still put a golden lock on it, taking it everywhere you go? Go, 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 what do you know? Su Wenkai first scolded, then sighed. This is not mine. It is the attire I prepared for our master. I see. Chi Chung nodded thoughtfully. No wonder you are so saddened, sir. Stop talking nonsense. Even though Su Wenkai was anxious, he would not allow anyone in the camp to claim the white robe was truly dead. Dong dong dong. Amidst the conversation, the war drums sounded. Inside the city, once again echoed Wang Jun's voice urging surrender. People inside the city, listen up. You are at a dead end. I will give you one last night. If you still do not open the gates and surrender by daybreak, once the city falls, none will be spared. After dropping this line, Wang Jun flew back to the Central Army tent. Hee. Deputy General Wu Jingsheng of the 300,000 troops sneered. Mu Fengchuan's strategy is truly ingenious. Now the people inside the city are panicked. They probably won't hold on much longer. What is the situation in Hongdu Prefecture? Wang Jun said seriously. Is Chun Sansi dead or not? Chapter 742 King Jin claims the throne. Liang Wang breaks the formation _3. I still don't know. Wu Jingsheng shook his head. According to the last report, they should have started retreating. Once our 200,000 troops unite with us, the people inside the city will naturally have no more doubts and will definitely open the city gate and surrender within 10 days. Let's end this quickly. Wang Jun was not pleased. He had already obtained his quota for the Foundation establishment pill. Under normal circumstances, he should have returned to the sect to wait for the elixir to be made and then begin his Foundation establishment in seclusion. However, the war reignited, and the sect commanded him to stay and assist Emperor Dashing. From the bottom of his heart, Wang Jun did not want to be an enemy of Chun Sansi, because he was afraid. He was truly terrified. If Chun Sansi doesn't die this time, he might chase him into the cultivation world to kill him. Wang Jun disliked confrontations and only sought immortality. However, having no support, he had to sell his life for the sect to obtain resources. He clasped his hands behind his back and entered the large tent. Inside the tent, the commander of the 3 armies, Jiang Yuanbua, held a secret letter in his hand, looking solemn. Commander. Wu Jingsheng noticed something was amiss and asked, What happened? Hongdu Prefecture. Jiang Yuanbua abruptly stood up and, while heading outside, said, Chun Sansi's power has been continuously increasing. 20 days ago, he crushed the rebel army. Now, the 9th Prince and his forces have abandoned their troops and are retreating towards our position alone. What? Wu Jingsheng exclaimed incredulously. Hongdu Prefecture had only over 6,000 remaining, and they've been without food for a long time. How could they not starve and even defeat a 200,000-strong army? Could it be that, in just a few months, even the 9th Prince and his allies are no longer a match for Chun Sansi? Wang Jun's expression was grave as he began to ponder how to find a suitable excuse to return to the sect on the pretext of reporting back. Although he didn't believe the White Robe could definitely win, he absolutely didn't want to take any risks and just wanted to return to the sect for Foundation establishment. That's unlikely. Jiang Yuanbua went outside the large tent. Not long after, a flying boat appeared amidst the night sky. It was unmistakably Prince Zhen Nan and others coming to this place. Greetings, 9th Prince. Jiang Yuanbua first saluted, then said, Your Highness need not worry excessively. Victory and defeat are common in military affairs. A loss of 200,000 troops is just that. Now that Your Highness and others have arrived, it confirms Chun Sansi's death, and surely the garrison inside Qiantang Prefecture will soon open the city gate and surrender. Victory and defeat are common in military affairs? Prince Zhen Nan felt only shame. Even if it were 200,000 against 1,000,000, or even against 50,000, losing could be justified, but the opponent had only 7,000 men. Quick! Daoxian Wanderer urgently said. Prepare to attack the city. Always be ready for formation. As long as the 8 Gates Golden Lock Immortal Array is formed, even if Chun Sansi comes, he will have no escape. Previously, the defeat at Sparrow Mouse Valley. The main reason was that the troops under command had been hungry for too long and lost all fighting spirit, collapsing as soon as the battle began. But the troops outside Qiantang Prefecture wouldn't have this issue. Notify the entire army. Prepare to continue the siege. Boom! The heavens rotated and the earth shifted. Night turned to day. At dawn, the battle reignited. Countless heavy machines crashed against the city walls. Wei Xian stood like a mountain as always. Since rediscovering the significance of cultivation, it seemed the knot in his heart had been untied. Even his old body appeared to have a second wind. Though I am old, my arrows are still sharp. The giant blade in his hand swung down like ink, sweeping downwards, resulting in a string of heads flying off with fountain-like blood spraying out, the blood and ink combining into a menacing tableau. The imperial troops might be vast, but immortal masters could only enter the divine continent in specific numbers periodically. Thus their numbers weren't many, only 3 Qi refining perfection cultivators. Wei Xian and his wife had already slain 2, and if another could be killed, perhaps they could attempt a breakout before more cultivators arrived. Just as Wei Xian contemplated how to slay an enemy general while wielding his blade, a roll of evil Qi suddenly descended from above. He immediately swung his giant blade upward, colliding with a bladeless broadsword. It was unmistakably Prince Zhen Nan Chao Rong. Your true power is quite strange. While Wei Xian was locked in combat, another prince with the bearing of an immortal appeared in midair. With a raise of his hand, torrents of true power transformed into a stream rushing forward. But Song Guizhi intervened in time, her jade staff radiating a green light, forcibly cleaving the water stream in 2. Chao Rong, not far away, after slashing an enemy soldier dead, Wang Ji recognized the extra general. These 2, weren't they at Hongdu Prefecture? How did they safely arrive here? Could it be? Isn't it obvious? Ling Yun saw through their thoughts. You have Chen Sanxi's head in your hands. Could there be a mistake? Brothers, avenge the commander. Wang Ji roared, raising his Mo blade high, channeling true chi to transform it into a black tortoise, ready to suppress the opponent. Li He silently appeared, attacking with a flying sword. Wang Ji had no choice but to turn his blade in defense. In the instant it collided with the flying sword, he was sent flying back like a kite with a broken string, only stopping after embedding into a wall. The flying sword gave him no respite, immediately following to seal his fate with one stroke. Inside Qiantang Prefecture, there were no cultivators, but there were many martial saints. During the last half-year, in the midst of battles, Chang Wei and others all broke through to the martial saint realm with the help of the true martial pills left by their junior brother. This is precisely why they were able to achieve consecutive victories. At this moment, Deng Feng and others, 5 martial saints combined their efforts to save him, barely managing to fend off the flying sword. Then, with the addition of Wang Ji, who had now recovered, 6 martial saints together surrounded Li He, struggling to hold their ground despite their numbers. Chapter 743. King Jin proclaims himself emperor. Liang Wang breaks the formation _4. In the end, it was Song Guizhi's exquisite stick skill that repelled Ling Yun, then brought gusts of gang wind as he attacked Li He, barely holding the group together. But after just over 10 rounds, he was severely injured. Ah! Wei Xian roared, unleashing his breathing skill to the extreme. His aged body swelled several circles. His hair and beard stood on end, his eyes blood-red. The magic duel in his hands became more intense, paying the price of burning his body to enhance true power, finally not inferior to Prince Zhang Nan. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, the 5 elements breathing skill is fundamental. But that doesn't mean there are only these 5. Wind, thunder, ice, and various other breathing techniques exist, similar to magic cultivation discovering variant spirit roots beyond 5 elements spirit root. For a moment, the generals within Qiantang Prefecture were plunged into a desperate battle. It was at this moment. A thunderous sound echoed from the heavenly dome. Someone was calling for help. Li He and others knew the white robe was not dead and dared not let their fighting force decrease, immediately breaking away from the immediate trembling, flying towards the sky. Chao Rong and Ling Yun also used talismans, unfolding a pair of wings behind them. As they reached mid-air, they saw 2 Guiyuan sect cultivators supporting King Jin among others in Yulu State. Taoist, since you're here, don't expect to leave. After speaking, they surged forward. After fighting for 7 to 8 rounds, among the 2 cultivators who came to support, one died in battle, while the other used various techniques to flee quickly and disappeared. Cough, cough. Having repeatedly used the blood light curse, coupled with the desperate attack from the dead cultivator, Li He was lightly injured. Coughing, he cursed. Guiyuan sect has risen so quickly in these years. It's simply outrageous. It seems we need to be more careful. Daoxian Wanderer, who was arranging formations on the ground and had not joined the battle, stood on his flying boat, reminding. Before arriving, I heard Guiyuan sect obtain some treasure to obscure the heavenly secrets. I wonder if they'll use it in this ancestor vein dispute. Then we mustn't delay any longer. Let's capture Qiantang Prefecture first. Li He looked at Wang Jun, who arrived late and said, Wang Jun Taoist, you came just in time. Everyone, take responsibility for one direction, then go and inspect. See if there are any Guiyuan sect cultivators lurking nearby to prevent ambushes. Then, we'll surge forward and eliminate those troublesome true power warriors. Hurry! That Chun kid could show up any time. With that, he took out a few elixir pills, put them in his mouth, and sat cross-legged in the air to heal injuries. Okay. Wang Jun nodded in agreement, then formed a seal controlling his sword, cautiously circulating within a radius of several miles. About 50 miles out, he vaguely saw moving shadows along the forest paths, slightly lowering his altitude and saw someone riding a horse on the road, and also, white robe on a white horse. Damn! Suddenly, Wang Jun felt a chill down his spine and immediately changed direction, intending to report back to the others, but then reconsidered and paused. After pondering thoroughly, he formed a seal and recited an incantation, gathering sword chi skill in front of him, then directly pierced through his own critical areas, twisting his 5 senses in pain. His face turned pale, and he then struck the air a few times to create noise. After doing all this, Wang Jun returned to his previous position. Wang Jun Taoist? Li He, hearing the commotion, raised his eyes sharply, seeing the other seriously injured, staggering back as if about to fall to the ground. What happened?
Guiyuan sect disciples.
Cough, cough. Wang Jun weakly said. But rest assured, I repelled them, and they're also heavily injured, probably won't return. The others gathered upon hearing, somewhat relieved. That's good. Just. Wang Jun wiped the blood from his mouth. I am quite heavily injured. May not be able to use even chi refining middle stage power. Probably can't help you all moving forward. Alas. Daoxian Wanderer stroked his beard and sighed. Wang Jun Jr. brother, since this is the case, you should return to the sect to report, and see if you can apply for more spirit stones. Using a formation consumes a massive amount. Okay. Daoxian Senior brother, I will try. Wang Jun clasped his fists, and after taking a few elixir pills, staggered and flew in the opposite direction, quickly disappearing. He traversed the clouds, glancing back at the increasingly distant Qiantang Prefecture, finally relaxing his tense heartstrings. The white robe has arrived. Whether the next win or loss is irrelevant to him. He just wants to return and heal, then seclude in Foundation establishment. Puff! Qiantang Prefecture. Above the city wall. After Chao Rong and others left one after another, Wei Xian spat a mouthful of blood. Old Wei. Song Guizhi quickly stepped forward to support him while searching for elixir pills from his robes. Other martial saints like Wang Ji were also wounded, lightly or heavily, after merely less than 10 rounds. Moreover, Wang Jun hadn't arrived, and Daoxian Wanderer was arranging military formations. Once they're ready and attack again, it could mean city collapse and slaughter. Inside the city, Bailiang army soldiers saw this scene as well. Currently, the commander's fate is unknown. Generals are all injured. The city's food cannot be replenished, only sitting precariously at the foot of a mountain. Outside the city, a 300,000-strong army besieges tightly, as if approaching the final moment. Bailiang's day of execution. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, outside the city, the war drums filled with murderous intent sounded again, continuously pounding the already demoralized hearts of the soldiers. Chapter 744. King Jin proclaims himself emperor. Liang Wang breaks the formation _5. Brothers. Wang Ji climbed onto the city wall, the Mo blade raised high reflecting golden light under the dazzling sun. His voice overpowering the battle drums of the enemy army, impassioned and stirring. To tell you the truth, has the commander perished? We don't know either. The commander indeed lost contact with us not long ago. However, the predecessor of the Bailiang army was the 8 camps. When did the 8 camps become such cowards? Let alone that the commander hasn't necessarily met any mishaps. Even if he truly died, are you going to open the city and surrender? Do you think you're acting like traitors? No, we, the Bailiang army, are fighting the world, for the fathers and elders of Bailiang, for your parents, for your relatives. As long as we survive today, the Central Plains are ours. I don't require you to die in battle, but at the very least, wait until we're all dead before you go out and surrender. Okay? If you can't even do that, you're not worthy to be soldiers of the 8 camps, even less so of the commander's soldiers. Then hurry and take off your armor, lay down your weapons, and roll back home through the small gate. All the money, grain, and military pay the people of Bailiang have paid over the years, just treat it as feeding the dogs. Go back and follow your old man into the fields to plant spiritual grain. Wait for the court's next alchemy event, for another Liangzhou 10 days, and have your whole family refined into great medicine. The speech left the Bailiang soldiers speechless. Only at this moment did they realize why they were fighting this battle. Was it really just because the white robe waved his arm and they followed? No, the white robe was merely a catalyst. It brought out their anger towards the court. No need to mention the spiritual grain. After the truth of the Yunzhou 10 days and the Battle of Guandu surfaced, which brother on the frontier wasn't disheartened? Which one wasn't angry? It was just that no one rebelled, or rather, no one dared to. It was the supervisor, it was the commander who stood up to demand an explanation, justice from the court. This battle was originally for themselves. General Tang, an old general of the 8 camps, nearly 60, shouted, I am an old soldier of the White Tiger camp from 25 years ago. I followed Master Sun Buhui. I still remember the events of that year. We held back for so many years. The old governor is gone. Now that the young master is willing to lead us for revenge, how could we possibly fear death? Back then, I was from the Azure Dragon camp. I am from the Vermilion Bird camp. The old soldiers of the 8 camps were the first to be mobilized. Though the 8 camps had been expanded and reshuffled several times, they often targeted the 1,000 captains and above. The array soldiers were never replaced. They were always in the Bailiang army. At this moment, in their desperate situation, they became a crucial backbone force. Under their influence, the bloodlust of the other Bailiang soldiers was also stirred. We're not cowards. General Tang is right. We are following the commander to achieve success. Since we are achieving success, how can we just wait for the commander to risk his life while we pick the fruits behind him? Brothers, let's fight with all we've got. Kill, kill, kill. In that instant, if the white robe were present, he would see that above the heads of over 9/10 of the soldiers in the city was actually suspended. Sinking formation death will ascend the wall. Slay the enemy. 20 miles away, on the hillside, Chun Sansi handed over the matters of the captives and supplies to others to handle, while he led a team day and night, finally arriving at this place in time. Seeing the densely packed court army on the distant plain, he knew that he had been right. The court intended to concentrate their forces to eliminate the Bailiang army, turning him into a lone commander. Luckily, he arrived in time. To save time, he had long left the other subordinates far behind. Chen Sun was very fast. On flat ground, it was even faster than ordinary cultivators using sword flight. Along the way, dust was everywhere. The once beautiful white horse, Qian Sun, turned a murky gray, vastly different from before. Boom, boom, boom. The earth-shaking battle drums erupted. The grand and passionate siege battle commenced. From afar, Chan Sansi could see the court troops surging towards the wall like a viscous black liquid, clinging to the wall's surface and climbing upward, like vines that continually grew and spread. On the wall, the Bailiang soldiers wielded their weapons, fighting hard to clear the vines, and from time to time, someone would be swallowed by the black tide, only to be replaced by others pressing forward to fill the gap. In the air, a few cultivators hovered, ready to strike suddenly and slay the defenders on the wall. How Qianshuan! Chan Sansi stroked the horse's mane, looking at the black ocean ahead. Looks like it'll be tough on you to accompany me once more. Saying so, he produced several yellow talismans in his hand. They turned into streaks of light, augmenting the white swan horse and himself. Great strength talisman. Divine speed talisman. A flash of spirit light. The flowing black talisman enveloped the iron armor around Chan Sansi, and in his hand appeared a double-edged trident. Fire element. Boom! Flames burst from under the mask on Chan Sansi's face. The double-edged trident transformed into a three-headed fiery flame flood dragon, while the white swan horse beneath him emitted a dazzling spirit light, and after a piercing neigh, it vanished like a flash into the forest. Man and horse, charging straight towards an army of 200,000. Qiantang Prefecture. Upon the city wall, the clash of blades. Blood wildly danced. Kill! Kill! No one in the Bailiang army retreated or spoke of surrender, fighting to the last breath. Even though they were aware that today, they would most likely die on the city wall. Chapter 745. King Jin proclaims himself emperor. Liang Wang breaks the formation _6. Brother Chao, Brother Ling, the three of us will go first. Taoist Daoxian. Stay alert at the back to prevent the Guiyuan sect cultivators from returning. As soon as Li He finished speaking, he and the other two flew towards the city wall side by side. Ah! Wei Xian roared fiercely, once again entering an overloaded state, standing at the front alongside Song Guizhi, while the martial saints engaged the relatively weaker martial cultivator Ling Yun, plunging back into a tough battle. Once these main generals were restrained, there was no one left to stop the imperial army, led by Jiang Yuanbua and others, from charging up the city wall. The casualties among the Bailiang soldiers began to rise exponentially, and the fall of the city was imminent. But just at this moment, beyond the battlefield that stretched for tens of miles, a lone rider charged towards the enemy's great formation from the flank at an unbelievable speed, catching everyone off guard. Who goes there? At the edge of the battlefield, the deputy general in charge of the formation, Wu Jingsheng, shouted sternly. The incoming soldier was wielding a two-edged spear, clad in talisman-imbued black armor, and wearing a frightening mask. He didn't answer, but when he was still several dozen feet away from the army, he suddenly leapt into the air. Flames erupted from his whole body, descending like a volcanic eruption. Whoom boom! The scorching flames twisted the void, exploding on the ground into a sea of fire, instantly turning dozens of enemy soldiers into charcoal. The weapon in the enemy general's hand transformed into a three-headed flood dragon, clearing all obstacles in front of it with unstoppable force, charging towards the city gate. Wu Jingsheng was taken aback in horror, wanting to report back, but the three-headed flood dragon had already appeared before him. He felt a wave of heat wash over him, and then lost consciousness. The melee continued. As the saying goes, when people number 10,000, it is endless. When people number 100,000, they connect the earth to the heavens. At this moment outside Qiantang Prefecture City, there were as many as 300,000, long since merging with the ground, extending endlessly. Within the multitude, the black-armored enemy general moved as if in uninhabited territory, slaying 100 people, slaying 1,000 people, 3,000 people. By this time, Daoxian Wanderer, suppressing the formation a few miles away, noticed something amiss. His pupils shivered sharply, his heart silently exclaimed, "Not good." And with a wave of his hands, an array plate was summoned, followed by a loud declaration. 8 gates golden lock immortal trap array. Set the formation. Booming rumble. On the array plate, bursts of spirit light radiated. Immediately following, countless array flags flew out from Daoxian Wanderer's storage bag, densely packed like a migrating flock of birds, almost blotting out the sky, with streaks of spiritual power streaming from the chessboard into the array flags. Countless array flags shone brightly, descending into the military formation like meteors, while the imperial army, waiting to charge as reinforcement, had long been prepared and immediately spread their formations. The 8 gates golden lock immortal trap array was formed. At this moment, a radius of tens of miles transformed into the 9 palaces' 8 trigrams, with the imperial army as the directions and their fates, and Daoxian Wanderer as the array eye, manipulating heaven and earth. Under his control, batch after batch of imperial soldiers and horses gathered towards Chan Sansi, drawing upon the power of heaven and earth, unexpectedly generating a golden spirit light. The spirit light, like mist, swept towards the black-armored general. Immortal Trap Golden Light. This was the unique aspect of this great formation. Most formations merely leveraged heavenly phenomena to enhance the army's combat power, but the 8 Gates Golden Lock Immortal Trap could, after adjustment, use the restrictive golden light to suppress enemy generals. Quick! Brother Chow, Mr. Li, Taoist Ling Yun. Stop him quickly. While setting up the formation, Daoxian Wanderer didn't forget to remind his comrades that they must not let Chun Sansi reach the city gate, because he suddenly remembered something that until now, Chun Sansi hadn't used the Heavenly Book Array. He braved the risk of the 8 Gates Golden Lock Immortal Trap's restriction to charge into the formation, determined to reach the city gate, which must have a purpose. On the city wall, in just 3 to 5 bouts, having gained a considerable upper hand and being about to easily slay Wei Xian and others, Chao Rong and others noticed the situation in the distance. Their hearts sank, and they couldn't care about these people any longer, immediately turning to join the formation, launching an encirclement on the black-armored general. What's happening? The sudden change left the entire battlefield in shock. Wei Xian planted his giant blade on the ground. The other Wang Ji and others were also heavily injured. They were simply no match for Chao Rong and others. A few more rounds, and they'd have been defeated, so why abandon at this critical moment? Look there. Song Guizhi pointed not far off. It looks like someone is breaking the formation. Breaking the formation. In the midst of the mighty imperial army, a lone rider stood like a massive rock in the river, splitting the black tide around him, resembling a sharp sword slicing through bamboo, unstoppable. Black armor, blood horse, wielding a 2-edged spear, battling amidst the sand and dust of formation, making it difficult for all to see clearly, only knowing that with each breath, the assailant was a bit closer to the city gate. Chao Rong, Li He and others arrived consecutively, finally slowing down the assailant's advance. Block him! Li He and others exerted all their skills. In this 8 Gates Golden Lock Immortal Trap, you think you are still a match for us? With the aid of the Golden Light, their every move weakened the opponent's true power. Despite the opponent having a certain trait that made him grow braver with each battle, under these circumstances, it was as if it didn't exist. Chao Rong and others steadily suppressed the black armor. Are you willing to die? Suddenly, Chun Sansi abandoned his defense, the flames on his 2-edged spear suddenly turning crimson, ready to exchange blows with Chao Rong, injury for injury. Why wouldn't I dare? Chao Rong, unafraid, was about to exchange strikes. Don't be fooled. Li He noticed something was wrong, pulling Prince Zhan Nan away at the last moment. This fire is not a 5-element fire, and its intensity is above ordinary earth vein fire. Exchanging blows with him will only injure him, but you're likely to die. But that moment of delay was enough for Chun Sansi to emerge victorious. There was no longer anyone to block his path forward. The 2-edged spear burning with abnormal fire destroyed everything, weaponry, armor, or shields all melting away, leaving one enemy after another reduced to ashes. During this, he didn't know how many people he slayed, only that suddenly there was nothing in front of him. No more obstacles, only a giant beast-like city looming ahead. 3 large characters hung above the city gate. Qiantang Prefecture. On the city wall, Wei Xian, Song Guizhi, Wang Ji, and all the Bailiang soldiers fell into dead silence. Under the gaze of tens of thousands, this black-armored general dropped the burnt-out 2-edged spear, slowly removing the mask beneath his helmet, revealing a face they were all too familiar with, someone they revered deeply, akin to a god. I'm here, brothers. I'm here. To take you home. Chapter 746. Aspiring to dominate the Central Plains. Brothers, I have come to fetch you all. At the moment the black-armored invader removed his mask, the entire world seemed to fall silent. On the city wall, the hands of the Bailiang soldiers, holding their weapons, froze mid-air, their expression still caught in the resolve to face death. Yet now their pupils reflected that familiar figure, leaving them in disbelief. A few breaths later, the heavily suppressed aura exploded. Commander! Is it really the commander? Commander, you're not dead? Master! My lord! Hearing these words, Chun Sansi unhurriedly shot an arrow backward, killing dozens of soldiers, and then loudly asked, How did I die? Look! Wang Ji shouted and tossed down from the high wall a head wrapped in white cloth. Chun Sansi caught it in his hand, and upon opening it, saw a face exactly like his own. Even he, skilled in disguise techniques, could barely discern the difference, truly indistinguishable between real and fake. As he stood still, Chao Rong and others were rapidly approaching, with thousands of crossbowmen forming ranks, unleashing a storm of arrows at the black-armored blood horse. Under the power of the 8 Gates Golden Lock Immortal Array, the arrows were endowed with the wind attribute boost from the Sun formula, radiating a dim green light. But behold, Chun Sansi stood unmoved on horseback, his fire element true power gradually spread, forming an impregnable barrier that turned the countless arrows raining down behind him into ashes. Holding the head of himself, he suddenly laughed coldly. It seems I truly scared them, forcing those old courtiers to resort to such despicable tricks. In the entire divine continent, who can kill me? Chan Sansi?
Boom!
With that, flames rose from his palm, reducing the head to ashes. Baelyang soldiers, why haven't you exited the city? Follow me to break the enemy. Brothers, open the city gates, assist the commander, kill the enemy. Wang Ji and others roared like thunder. The army began to mobilize swiftly within the city, preparing to retaliate. Chun Sansi, Prince Zhan Nan's meridians were overloaded, his hairpin shattered, his hair stood on end, his red eyes like the poisonous beasts of the Luotian mountain range, his voice tinged with madness. You are but a commoner. The court gave you everything. Not only are you ungrateful, but you also seek to be a traitor, even using chaotic cultivation techniques to block my martial path. Is there anyone in the world more heartless than you? Even if I die here today, I will take your head. In a berserk state, Chao Rong's consciousness grew hazy, but his killing aura true power surged another level, as the bladeless broadsword descended from the sky like a falling heavenly pillar, crushing down upon mortals. The white swan horse transformed into spirit light and vanished, replaced by a silver dragon that coiled above Chan Sansi's head, forcibly withstanding the descending heavenly pillar. Rumble. With the collision of the two true powers, the entire Qiantang prefecture trembled. The ground beneath Chan Sansi's feet collapsed several times, leaving him trapped in a deep pit over 3 meters deep, the surface cracks radiating in a radius of several dozen meters centered on him and Chao Rong. Meanwhile, Ling Yun and Li He also attacked from different directions. One utilized the Can formula of the 8 trigrams to enhance the Tianhe sword skill with the underground water, while the other intensified the bloodlight curse. The three of them dared not hold back any longer, for they knew there was no retreat now. They attacked head-on in the front. In the rear, Daoxian Wanderer presided over the 8 gates Golden Lock Immortal Array, constantly manipulating the auspicious and inauspicious positions, imposing restrictions, and with the support of massive troops, finally brought out the true power of the formation. Under the Great Formation's suppression, Chan Sansi's true power was continually weakened, yet the war intent from Unrivaled continued to stack, allowing him to still take on 4 foes at once, his hands wielding what seemed no longer a long spear. Or rather, from afar, there appeared to be no weapon at all. Only a red flame fire dragon circling around him, sometimes biting off evil chi, sometimes destroying blood light, sometimes evaporating ice rivers, sometimes responding to auspiciousness and inauspiciousness, dazzling the onlookers, with hardly any way to see how they exchanged blows, only witnessing the true power and mana growing more and more tumultuous, the earth shattering incessantly, and anyone unfortunate enough to be caught nearby would die with ruptured internal organs. Chao Rong and the others increased their attack frequency and fierceness. Li He, carelessly disregarding his 2 martial cultivator companions, cursed and swore while repeatedly bombarding with the blood-light flying sword. Even if this person was a magic cultivator above the 20th layer of chi refinement, it wouldn't be this troublesome. It's almost time. In midair, Daoxian Wanderer, who had been assisting the battle, finally completed his preparation. Chan, face your demise. Boom. With those words, the array plate suddenly enlarged, its golden light intensifying until it covered the sky, turning the entire battlefield into a golden hue, resembling a resplendent immortal mountain suspended in the air. Under the mountain's pressure, even the Baelyang soldiers several miles away felt waves of weakness, and even Xuanxiang realm generals found their gang chi halved at least. The same effect naturally took place on Chan Sansi as well, only forcefully countered by Unrivaled, enduring through it. However, Chapter 747. Aspiring to dominate the Central Plains _2. The Golden Mountain's power continued to increase, until it reached its limit. Then with a thunderous roar, it began to fall from the heavenly dome, suppressing the immortals. This is the strongest strike of the 8-gate Golden Lock Immortal Trapping Formation, harnessing the power of heaven and earth. Daoxian Wanderer urged his companions. Seize this opportunity, strike them dead with a single blow. Boom! After another clash, Chun Sansi, Chao Rong, and the others were all knocked back, their eyes filled with rage. As they gathered their own power, the suppressing golden light of the 8-gate Golden Lock Formation also enhanced them. Meanwhile, the first batch of Baelyang army in Qiantang Prefecture finally charged out. Commander! Counterattack! Kill the court's beasts! They looked at the commander standing alone outside the city gate, and their fighting spirit soared to its peak. According to the original tactics, the 150000 Baelyang troops in Qiantang Prefecture were supposed to support the 7,000 brothers of the Hengze camp in Hongdu Prefecture. But the result? The commander led mere 7,000 men, without provisions, facing 200,000 enemy troops, and held his ground for a full half year. And they not only failed to complete the original tactics and were trapped here, unable to advance, but also needed the commander to rescue them, a single person, to support the 130,000 brothers inside the city. At this moment, shame, anger, rebirth from despair, revenge, and all such emotions transformed into an overwhelming fighting spirit and a sky-high murderous aura. Mainstay, calm in crisis.
War Frenzy.
Sinking formation death will. Various enhancements took effect one after another. At the forefront of the soldiers, their commander, Chan Sansi, raised his arms amid the golden light surrounding the sky, his voice like a decree from a heavenly god. Bailiang army, break the formation. Boom! Almost at the same time, inside Qiantang Prefecture City, the sound of a war drum rang out, followed by a second, a third, each beat heavier, each beat more urgent. This is the majestic soul-suppressing song Great Formation, the Bailiang breaking formation song. Within the Xianzhou, mystical energy was abundant. As early as in Hongdu Prefecture, the mystical energy in the Xianzhou had been continuously surging, more than enough to use the Bailiang breaking formation song. With plenty to spare, a long time ago, this tune had been classified at the military formation level for strict practice, and naturally all instruments followed the army, and with a command the great tune began to play slowly. As the music began, strands of mystical energy spread from Chan Sansi's position to all directions, enhancing all the musical instruments and every soldier of the Bailiang army in the field. Thus, the military music played by thousands of soldiers resounded across this ancient battlefield in the central plains. Boom, boom, boom. The war drums beat rhythmically. In an instant, the world changed color. The sky that had been clear and cloudless not long ago suddenly became gloomy. Layers of dark clouds covered the land. Layers of killing intent descended from the sky. This majestic great music seemed not to come from within Qiantang Prefecture but from an ancient battlefield. Its momentum was overwhelming, its murderous aura chilling. The low thundering war drums shook the earth. The long horn sound echoed between the drumbeats, like the fluttering sound of a battle flag in the wind. The zither twanged, its strings cutting through the sky like blades, each pluck an arrow released, directly targeting the enemy formation. The flute sound was like a wailing, yet seemed like the eve of triumph, every note, deafening. Boom! The murderous music grew more and more grand, until finally, it seemed to explode in people's minds, the 300,000 troops of the court. None could escape the agony as if their heads would split, and some even bled from the 7 orifices on the spot. Immediately after, in their eyes, besides the Bailiang army, another troop appeared. The majestic music shook heaven and earth. The court soldiers saw this suddenly appearing troop dancing wildly with military flags. Brandishing swords, charging in, they shouted. Beneath them steeds neighed, countless people stormed toward the formation. But strangely enough, it was deathly silent. The court soldiers, on one hand, endured the bombardment of the great music, but on the other hand, they could hear nothing of this eerie troop's noise, eerily silent, as if only displaying a picture from beyond time, like ghosts from an ancient battlefield joining the war. They charged together with the Bailiang army. Until a certain moment, they merged into one. The world changed again. Rolling dark clouds descended from the sky, falling among the Bailiang army, then spreading like a plague, encroaching on the 8-gate golden lock immortal trapping formation. The golden light began to dim rapidly, and the golden mountain in the sky also began to waver, becoming increasingly ephemeral. What's going on? Li He and others noticed the enhancement from the formation weakening, and instantly they were somewhat panicked. Dao Xian, your formation got broken so easily. What do you mean by so easily? Dao Xian Wanderer clutched the mantra, struggling hard to maintain the array plate and array eye, his face looking ghastly. These heavenly book formation arrays, the strength depends on the vastness of spiritual energy. This person's mobilized Yin Sha energy contains ancient power, and the consumption is hard to estimate. But the problem is, the opponent wasn't prepared at all. You must know, Dao Xian Wanderer had been preparing this 8-gate golden lock immortal trapping formation for several months. But Chan Sansi did nothing. He just shouted and mobilized such terrifying power. Where did this power come from? He must possess a treasured artifact, an artifact coveted even by upper sect deities. Kill! Boom, boom, boom. The Bailiang breaking formation song continued, as wave after wave of cavalry carrying ancient power assaulted. The court's 300,000 strong army's formation could no longer hold, although not completely defeated yet. Several key points of the 8-gate golden lock immortal trapping formation got destroyed, the formation's power greatly waning, until the golden light was completely devoured by the ominous dark energy. The floating golden mountain also dissipated like a mirage, vanishing without a trace. Chapter 748. Aspiring to dominate the Central Plains _3. Immediately, the last vestige of enhancement on Li He and the others vanished, leaving them feeling as if soldiers stripped of their armor, completely unprotected. Looking again at Chan Sansi in his black armor, standing silently amidst the chilling evil chi. His pupils burned with fierce flames, yet his gaze upon the few was filled with endless coldness, as if looking at corpses. Li He, Ling Yun, and Dao Xian Wanderer all had a sinking feeling in their hearts, with 2 words surfacing. It's over. Initially, they were already no match for Chan Sansi head-on. The upper hand they had earlier was entirely reliant on the immortal array. Now that the array was broken, the opponent's power was no longer restricted and grew stronger the more he fought. Was there any chance of victory left? Li He first felt the desire to retreat. Sadly, it was too late. Unbeknownst to them, amidst the chilling evil chi, A fire dragon soared out and was already in front of him. The blood light spell was fully exerted. Li He formed a seal to control the flying sword. But this time he clearly felt powerless. After barely holding on for 2 rounds, his flying sword lost contact with him, spinning and piercing far into the battlefield. Before Li He could regain control of the flying sword, the blazing gun tip was already at his face. In the blink of an eye, Ling Yun's sleeves poured out rivers. But this time, his water element true power could no longer counteract the fire element. Like a small stream meeting a fire raging across hundreds of miles, instantly evaporated, and the long spear ultimately remained unstoppable in its assassination. The sharp gun blade with flames sliced through the forehead and then drilled through the skull and penetrated the mark. Before the red and white matter could splatter out, it turned to ash from the flames. Poochie! The long dan bright silver spear was pulled out, and Li He fell flat on his back with half of his head charred. Beside Chun Sansi, the dense killing aura true power surged again. His long spear sweeping horizontally in a fiery arc to repel the frenzied Chao Rong a few steps back, then sank downward pressing the broadsword onto the ground, immobilized. Seizing the opportunity, he got close, his left hand clenched into a fist with rolling red flames, and punched fiercely, enlarging in the enemy's pupils until the bloodshot eyes were completely engulfed by fire. Boom! The vast and majestic true power exploded suddenly. Prince Zhan Nan, Chao Rong's face instantly disintegrated. His body flew backward, before landing another silver bullet transformed vermilion bird pursued and completely engulfed him. Simultaneously as he killed him, murderous intent attacked from behind at close distance, single sword close to the spear. Chun Sansi directly kicked the bladeless broadsword from the ground into the air, temporarily releasing the long spear, grabbing the broadsword with both hands and slashing horizontally, fire element true power devouring its original evil chi. The fiery blade light flashed, leaving the would-be ambusher Ling Yun standing still, his body momentarily separating into 2 halves, the wound scorched without dripping a drop of fresh blood. With the help of the 8 Gates Gold Lock's immortal array lost, within just a few rounds, only Daoxian Wanderer remained alive, already fleeing hundreds of steps away, seemingly about to escape the battlefield. Chun Sansi erupted suddenly, soaring on flames with tiger-like wings, hurling the long spear in his grip through layers of dark clouds, chasing like a blazing meteor. Daoxian continually cast defensive magic, yet ultimately under terrifying true power, fell from the sky along with his flying boat. Chun Sansi followed closely, plummeting with a crash from 100 yards high, his fiery right leg precisely stomping on Daoxian Wanderer's head, completely ending his life. For people, all slaughtered in battle, the remaining generals were naturally no match for Wei Xian and others. When he tossed the 4's dismembered bodies into the air for all to see, a massive defeat became unstoppable, bodies piled like mountains, blood flowed like rivers, sticking to the soles as they walked in shoes. 300,000 troops, defeated like a landslide, a battle lasting 5 full days. Ultimately, over 100,000 enemy troops killed, 150,000 captured, while 50,000 scattered away, whereabouts unknown. After this battle, the Bailiang army settled in the Central Plains. Capital city, Zhongjua Hall. Another day at the hour of Mao. Prince Qin, Prince Qi, and civil and military officials arrived in the hall one after another to discuss major national affairs. Calculating the days, the people in Hongdu Prefecture should have starved to death by now. Prince Qin walked briskly ahead with hands clasped behind. If Ninth Brother has led the others to Qiantang Prefecture, they should have majorly defeated the Bailiang army. Waiting for Father Emperor to emerge, restore peace and unify the lands, is just around the corner. Indeed, Old Mu's strategy is vicious but effective. Prince Qi was halfway through when he saw an official in a crimson robe had arrived in the hall before everyone else. Leaning on a cane, staring at the sand table ahead, dim eyes somewhat bleak. Old Mu. Seeing clearly, Prince Qi said, "You're here so early?" Thump. Before he could finish, Minister of War Mu Fengchun dropped the cane and knelt abruptly. "Your servant, guilty of death. What's your crime, Old Mu?" Realizing the gravity, Prince Qi hastily pointed to the nearby eunuch. "What happened?" "Your Highness, a major mishap." The eunuch also knelt. An hour ago, 2 war reports arrived at the palace. 30 days ago, Chun Sansi outside Hongdu Prefecture, in Sparrow Rat Valley, devoured flesh and defeated 9th Prince's 200,000 troops, escaping alive. Chapter 749. Aspiring to dominate the Central Plains _4. 6,000. Defeat 20,000. And it's in a situation of being cut off from supplies for nearly half a year. It's simply unbelievable. Before Prince Qin, Prince Qi, and a group of officials could react, the eunuch continued. 10 days ago, outside Qiantang Prefecture, Chun Sansi single-handedly broke the formation. The rebel army in the city was overwhelmed, and subsequently, using the Heavenly Book array, he counterattacked outside the city. Our 30,000 troops were almost completely wiped out. The 9th Prince and several immortal masters, all sacrificed for the nation. Just a few short words. Yet at this moment, they're like a thunderclap, resonating in everyone's minds. Minister of Ministry of Industry Yen Maoxing, was inexplicably ringing in the ears, almost falling backwards.
22 ans plus 32 ans.
50,000. 50,000 troops gone in an instant. Moreover, although the battle seemed perilous, in fact, the Bailiang army did not actually suffer too great a loss. After the battle, the Bailiang army successfully entered the pass, and if they joined forces with King Jin in the east, they could quickly occupy most of the central plains. Then, only the final pass remains, and they could directly march to the capital city. White Robe! At this moment, the civil and military officials finally deeply realize what kind of feeling it is, standing opposite the White Robe as an enemy. Old Minister. Death penalty. Mu Fengchun took off the official hat from his head and raised it high. This grand strategy was proposed by the Old Minister, and now that such a defeat has occurred, I cannot evade the blame. Old Mu, Prince Qin said angrily. What good is saying this now? Isn't it the urgent matter at hand to think about what to do next? Mu Fengchun did not answer, just raised the official hat high. I don't know. Don't know? Prince Qin asked. What do you mean by this? Please, let me die.
Mu Fengchun repeated.
Ah. Prince Qi went forward to support him. Old Mu, the strategy was made by all of us together, and it was agreed upon by the emperor as well. How can the blame be put on you alone for the defeat in battle? What are you saying about asking to die? You are an old minister of the court, and in your early years you achieved countless merits. No one is asking for your crime. However, Mu Fengchun insisted on kneeling on the ground. If the old minister can luckily survive with a broken body, please ask the royal highnesses to remove the old minister's position as minister of war and appoint someone capable. Old Mu, Prince Qin said with some disdain. You've been defeated in spirit by just a single battle? Even if 50,000 troops are lost, we still have over 1 million soldiers. Father is about to exit the pass. We still have the greater chance to win. You must know, you are of the same generation as Sun Xiangzong, and Chen Sansi is merely of your junior's generation. Old Mu's cowardly behavior, if spread, isn't it laughable? Mu Fengchun coldly sneered at himself. Your Highness, I have lost to Sun Xiangzong, and he was right. Manipulating people's hearts is just a lowly trick, ineffective against true heroes. Indeed, I am not a match for Chen Sansi. It is said that the immortal masters have arrived at the divine continent, so please let your Highness make room for the old minister. Recalling back in the day, he despised Sun Xiangzong's aloofness, while the other side despised his plotting and scheming. Now the high and low have been divided. His spirit has indeed vanished. Mu Fengchun looked over the detailed battle report, including Chen Sansi burning fasting pills, and together with his subordinates, suffered hunger, later surprisingly obtaining the help of the city's populace, and even when human heads were sent into Chentang Prefecture, the Bailiang army still held on for a long time, until Chen Sansi arrived at the city gates. Sun Xiangzong was right. Plotting and scheming are like ants shaking a tree in the face of true momentum. Since your Highness is benevolent, then the old minister shall take his leave. After speaking, Mu Fengchun gently placed his official hat on the ground, disregarding whether the two princes agreed, and hobbled tremulously out of the main hall with his cane. How could this be? Prince Qi patted his forehead and said, How should we quell the rebellion next? Notify father first. Prince Qin said, After the Bailiang army entered the central plains, Kunlun Mountain is no longer safe. Kunlun Mountain, cave heaven-blessed land. Reports from the capital city were sent here, but all were intercepted outside the cave mansion. Huang Hong looked at the shocking content, anxiously pacing back and forth in front of the door, but hesitated to disturb. Inside the cave mansion, with the final vestiges of the healing pills effect fully digested within, Emperor Longqing's wounds were completely healed, both physically and mentally reaching peak condition. This is the requisite procedure before foundation establishment. Foundation establishment carries the risk of failure. If it fails, one's cultivation may regress, with no hope of foundation establishment henceforth. At worst, one's life may be extinguished. Therefore, cultivators approach foundation establishment with utmost caution, preparing meticulously. During the blood sacrifice in Liangzhou, Emperor Longqing accidentally got tainted with evil qi, which was expunged with difficulty, only to get lightly injured from the assassination attempt by seeking Immortal Tower en route to Kunlun Mountain seclusion. Only today has he recovered fully. Now can formally begin seclusion. A few months at minimum, at most 1 to 2 years to set the path toward longevity. Emperor Longqing possessed excellent talent, indeed unparalleled, even on Sky Water Continent. Any sect would wish to accept him as a true disciple. The reason it took until such age to reach the foundation establishment juncture, partly owed to not obtaining genuine cultivation methods in youth, and partly insufficient resources, until later possessing adequate spiritual energy, supplemented by Yunzhou's 10-day life extension, nurturing qi blood cultivation to accelerate profoundly. Further complemented by the foundation establishment pill now, the success rate for foundation establishment is over 90%. Sitting cross-legged, Emperor Longqing did not rush into the next step. Instead, he slowly opened his eyes and said with a deep voice towards outside the stone gate, Enter. Chapter 750. Aspiring to dominate the Central Plains _5. Buzz. The stone gate opened. Huang Hong hurried in. Your Majesty, have I interrupted your musings? It's truly an urgent matter. Defeated. Emperor Longqing received the news lastly about the White Robe's deceptive tactics and the sudden drop of divine soldiers on Hongdu Prefecture, cutting off the retreat from Spring and Autumn Prefecture, followed by Mu Fengchuan's strategy to concentrate forces to first eliminate the Beiliang army. Seeing the eunuch's flustered appearance now, he already had a guess. Moreover, it's a complete defeat, Huang Hong affirmed. The rebel Chen Sansi first crushed an army of 200,000 at Sparrow Rat Valley, and then staged a grand spectacle at Qiantang Prefecture, not only annihilating 300,000 troops but also causing the 9th prince and several masters to perish for the nation. Now, the Beiliang rebels are gathering forces in the Central Plains, and they will soon advance south. There are no military forces near Kunlun Mountain. I worry they might disturb your Majesty's seclusion, so I ask your Majesty to relocate. Emperor Longqing requested the battle reports, personally reviewing every detail of the war, his eyes subtly twitching, making his gloomy black pupils appear even more abyss-like. After about the time it takes for a cup of tea, his expression finally showed a hint of sorrow. Huang Hong, Emperor Longqing sighed deeply. My Jiang Mountain, it's in turmoil. Your Majesty, this is only temporary. Huang Hong spoke sincerely. Once your Majesty completes the foundation establishment, you will undoubtedly sweep across the 6 directions, restore the society and the empire, achieving a true millennium of peace and prosperity. You, as a mere servant, understand this truth. Why don't they? Why doesn't Sun Xiangzong understand? Why don't my sons understand? And why doesn't this Chen Sansi understand? I've heard he wins hearts by uprooting spiritual grain along his way. Childish, utterly childish. Doesn't your Majesty wish for more grain to be grown in the fields? All of it is the tax revenue of dashing, the foundation of national prosperity and strength. I've been enduring, for them, for this country. I still remember when I first met the so-called immortals, how they looked down from such heights, treating me and my subjects like ants, wanting to trample everything. It was I who negotiated with them. Step by step to this day, even when the people from Shangyun's sect arrive, they must call me Your Majesty. The sealing matter began to shake years ago. I've always known they'd flood into the divine continent someday. I've always wanted to protect the people. Sun Xiangzong could have helped me, but he kept it secret from me, not informing me. And now his good disciple, thinking he's incredible? Don't they know, recklessly uprooting spiritual grain and offending all sects, what consequences that brings? Why couldn't they wait a little longer, even until I reach foundation establishment? Then I will no longer need to look at any sect's face, but instead, anyone stepping into the eastern continent must bow to me. Please calm down, Your Majesty. Huang Hong quickly knelt. Why should Your Majesty be angered by these ignorant and foolish officials? I'm not angry. Emperor Longqing exhaled heavily. I'm over 100 years old, with age comes melancholy. Let them go, it's all coming to an end soon. How is the arrangement in the capital city now? In response to Your Majesty, Huang Hong said, it's still Prince Qin managing state affairs. There's still 1 million troops in the Central Plains, and a new batch of immortal masters has recently arrived at the Kunlun Mountain Palace, including the close friend of soldier immortal Han Xiang. Send them all over. The Emperor Longqing ordered. Also, Mang Mountain, the old ancestor of the Ling family, if he's done dealing with West Qi's affairs, return to the Central Plains first. The upcoming actions should focus on holding off Chen Sansi, giving me time. I will remember, Huang Hong said. This Kunlun Mountain is no longer suitable to stay. Next I will return to the capital city to complete the seclusion in Longevity Palace, and you will handle the protection. Huang Hong, you are now the only one in this world who truly understands me, the Emperor said, approaching the spiritual energy-emitting tree within the cave mansion. This tree, its full name, Fuling Taiqing Heavenly Treasure Tree, is an extremely precious spirit plant able to replace a spirit vein to provide spiritual energy, yet it's on the brink of death. Cao Kai was indifferent, directly uprooting it completely. After this, the treasure tree can barely survive for a while, long enough for him to complete his seclusion. Putting the treasure tree into his pouch, Longqing waved his sleeve, riding the dragon abyss sword to fly out of Shualian Cave, soon disappearing. Yulu State. 12th brother. King Jin Chao Huan, personally holding the battle report, his expression jubilant yet slightly complex, came to the backyard, finding King Yen fishing and idly informed. Victory, victory! Chen Sansi rode solo into the enemy's ranks, then led the Qiantang Prefecture defenders in a counterattack, destroying 3,000,000 of the court's troops. It's just that 9th brother along with those masters were slain by Chen Sansi amidst the chaotic army. 9th brother, Chao Ji reminisced. If he's dead, we may be brothers nominally, but actually have no relation, and now we are enemies. 6th brother need not grieve. Alas! King Jin Chao Huan sighed slightly. Words are true, yet we're blood-connected. If father weren't so obsessed with the so-called immortal path, us brothers wouldn't be so. Since Beiliang army has entered the Central Plains, let's not idle either. Chapter 751. Aspiring to dominate the Central Plains _6. Chao Ji laid down the fishing rod, stood up, stretched lazily, and said, 6th brother, starting today, You will personally lead the troops on an expedition. Within 2 months, you are bound to capture 3 more states, and the forces can be expanded. Then, you can prepare to take over the throne. Qiantang Prefecture. On the city wall, the golden rooster announces the dawn. The morning mist gently disperses. Chun Sansi practiced his well-honed spear technique, performing the fire-breathing technique paired with the special pile work, continuously mobilizing the spiritual energy within his body in a complex circulation, refining his physique while constantly nurturing the shrine within. In his right upper abdomen, the radiant spirit light first shone blue, then yellow, followed by green, until finally merging into a 3-colored profound light, dazzling and brilliant. A shrine awakened along with it. Gall-bladder god, named Longju, styled Daofeng, 2 inches 6 feet tall, wearing blue, yellow and green clothes. Cultivation technique. Dragon scripture. True power early stage. Progress. 314/500. The central 8 scenic gods opened 5 of its caves. Put away the long spear. Chun Sansi then immediately started practicing spells. Magic. 10,000 sword sky. Second tier. Progress. 1583/2000. Spell. Thick earth decision mastered. Progress. 798/1000. Skill archery. Perfection. Surpass limit 3rd tier. Progress. 1811/2000. These spells are all about to break through. Lastly, the spoils from the Battle of Qiantang Prefecture. All the belongings of Chao Rong, Ling Yun, Li He and Daoxian Wanderer were collected into his bag. A bladeless broadsword, a soft sword, a sword, along with a first-tier array diagram from Daoxian Wanderer, these were the biggest gains this time. These first-tier arrays include the Golden Light Array for defense, which was used in Spring and Autumn Prefecture to make the city as solid as gold, a Dungeon Array that can trap enemies and lock generals, and also a Mirage Array. As for the 9 Palaces 8 Trigrams Array, the chessboard was shattered, and the corresponding creation method was not found. Perhaps it was acquired by Daoxian in the cultivation world from a sect or someone else rather than made by himself. Overall, the utility of these arrays is not great, but not insignificant either. Believing in the motto that more skills do not weigh down the body, Chun Sansi would also take them out for research while practicing, as practicing arrays could enhance the divine sense, and coupled with alchemy and talisman painting, they had a complementary effect. Especially talisman painting and arrays, there were many similarities between them. Skill. Formation. Entry-level. Progress. 82 out of 100. Utility. None yet. Chun Sansi returned to the military camp with his long spear. Salute to the commander. The morning roll call had just ended. Generals from all directions gathered here, waiting to plan the next move of the Bailiang army. Chun Sansi didn't waste words and went straight to the main seat to sit down, then signaled Su Wenkai to start. Generals. Su Wenkai pointed at the map with his feather fan. After capturing Qiantang Prefecture, our Bailiang army now occupies 30% of the central plains, and the issue of logistic supply from the rear has also been resolved. On the side of the court, a large number of troops are gathering in the Fei River area, and according to reliable information, the number could be as many as 1 million, with many high-realm immortal masters coming to assist. But this will also be our final battle. As long as we can win this battle, there will be no force in front that can stop us, and the forces of our Bailiang army will go straight to the capital Chang'an, settling the world. But before that, we still need to solve some problems. As per the commander's request, we must initiate the decisive battle in the coming year and more. But if we continue southwards, there are numerous passes in between that will obstruct us. The forces of these states, although not many, and not few, will still take a lot of time if we fight them, causing various kinds of mahjong rooms for the stability of the rear. The best way is to find a way to make them surrender directly. So, starting today, generals will split into 8 routes, first attacking some of the easier-to-breach cities to demonstrate, to see if the others can wake up and defect from the darkness to the light. Carry out as Su Wenkai advises. Chun Sansi issued the command. The Great Shang dynasty's territory is vast. These states are scattered, covering areas too extensive. It is impossible for him to lead troops to attack each place in person. This not only wastes time but also consumes an enormous amount of provisions and supplies. Even from a view of the entire world, after years of warfare, even grains are exceedingly precious. So the best way is to advise surrender. I obey the orders. Chi Cheng quickly helped formulate more detailed arrangements, and after the generals received their respective tasks, they all left Qiantang Prefecture. Sir. After everyone had left, Su Wenkai leaned in and said, recently, taking advantage of our Bailiang army's great victory momentum, King Jin of Yulu State has expanded his forces quite a bit, and now occupies 5 states, commanding an army of 150,000, which can be considered powerful in terms of troops. They sent a message early this morning, expressing the hope to unite forces with us and jointly march south to attack the Imperial Army. Unite forces? While handling paperwork, Chun Sansi asked, what do you think? If we want to march south quickly, I'm afraid we will have to agree to unite forces with them, because... Su Wenkai pulled a letter from his sleeve. King Jin is preparing to declare himself emperor. After inheriting the throne, many states along the way south will regard it as internal strife within the Chao family, and whether one wins or not, it is still the great Shang Jiangshan. They are sure not to resist much and may even surrender at the first opportunity. Moreover, the court still has a million-strong army. There are many places where we could use their help. Might as well agree to their request for now. Chapter 752. Sword steps into the palace, entering without haste. Of course, there is a disadvantage in doing so. That is, in name, our Bailiang is still a courtier of the great Shang dynasty. This point, Chen Sansi naturally understood. But this was the opponent's overt scheme. If they didn't use the banner of King Jin, they would have to drag on endlessly. The reason Chen Sansi was unwilling to delay was not only because he was worried about the emperor's foundation establishment. Most importantly, it was the Mang Mountain ancestor vein. The revival of the ancestor vein is not something achieved overnight. But Chen Sansi was unsure whether the cultivators of Sky-Water Continent had any means to flood in through the ancestor vein on a large scale, which would be an even bigger problem and threaten everyone's safety. Including the Seeking Immortal Tower and Guiyuan sect behind King Jin, all pose threats to be guarded against. As expected, most of the troops Su Wenkai sent out to accept the surrender returned disappointedly. Many city generals, even civil servants within the city, refused to bow and submit. The Great Shang had loyal ministers who would not yield to Chen. Even civil servants were a crucial part of stability at the rear. Thus, merging forces became the best strategy. In the 77th year of Longqing, July, the Bailiang army and King Jin's new court merged into one. In August of the same year, King Jin Chao Huan, holding a fake enthronement edict, held the grand Fengchan ceremony at Ziwei Mountain in Lingzhou, which was recovered not long ago, offered sacrifices to heaven and ancestors, ascended the throne proclaiming himself emperor, establishing the Yuan era as orthodox, thus marking the first year of orthodox. I am blessed by heaven, inheriting the great enterprise of my imperial ancestors, continuing the orthodoxy of heaven and earth, now ascending the throne as emperor, governing by the mandate of heaven, aiming to unify the realm. I deeply know the responsibility of governing the country and ensuring peace, and I must harbor benevolence, strive for diligent governance, open avenues for advice, reassure distant peoples, invite virtuous and talented gentlemen, and seek the well-being of my subjects and peace in the realm. To all my subjects, all people of the realm, be content, engage diligently in farming and weaving, and await the time when the country prospers, and the people are at peace with abundant harvests, at which time I will celebrate with you the peace and prosperity of the era. Amidst the great chaos across the realm, a grand Fengchan ceremony was held atop the Ziwei Mountain in the eastern region. Eventually, within the Yangxin Palace, the first court meeting of the new dynasty was held. The content of this court meeting primarily involved the appointment of various officials. Chao Huan, donned in a dragon robe, sat solemnly on the dragon chair. At his side, a eunuch loudly read out the new appointments of the dynasty officials. Ming Qingfeng, appointed as chief minister, concurrently serving as minister of war. Fang Qingyun, appointed as vice minister of the cabinet, additionally conferred the title of State Duke of Chu, concurrently serving as vice minister of the cabinet, left censor-in-chief of the Imperial Supervision Office, and temporarily serving as governorial inspector of Yulu State, overseeing military affairs. Jian Shichuan, appointed as academician of the Jianji Hall, concurrently serving as minister of revenue. From the cabinet to the genie guard, and even the ritual supervision were all thoroughly appointed on that day, indicating the arrangements had been in preparation for not just 1 or 2 days. Ultimately, the white robe appointment was announced. Bailiang King, Chen Sansi, responding to His Majesty's call to arms in times of peril, is truly a loyal and virtuous figure of the great Shang, a pillar of the Jiang Mountain and society. Therefore, appointed to the position of supervisor in the supervisor mansion, overseeing military affairs across both internal and external regions of 12 states during this war, wielding the false yellow halberd, elevated to the title of Grand Master, recorded as specially advanced Grand Guardian, with all titles and ranks hereditary and permanent. Additionally, granted the privilege to wear sword and shoes in court, not obliged to quicken pace, nor named in salutation, with fief in Liangzhou, receiving a stipend of 10,000 households. In the great Shang dynasty, the Grand Master was the highest among the 3 dukes. According to rights and laws, even the emperor had to accord him due respect, which traditionally fell only upon greatly esteemed elder statesmen who had retired from the court. Yet, at this moment, it appeared upon a 25-year-old young man. Not only that, but also, to oversee the military affairs of 12 states, though wartime essentially equates to controlling the national military. What immense power is that? The false yellow halberd, false officials tally. This was the great Shang dynasty's delegation of power, among which the false yellow halberd was the most noble, allowing not just the arbitrary execution of officers violating military orders but also adaptable strategic changes when necessary, almost akin to being a monarch. The final privilege of wearing sword and footwear in court, not obliged to quicken pace, nor named in salutation, was unprecedented in Great Shang, especially considering Chen Sansi's current standing, excluding the cultivators from Sky-Water Continent. He could be regarded as the contemporary martial arts, the foremost. Instead of fortifying against him, it was as if the utmost trust was shown with the honor of wearing sword and shoes in court. However, this was not the end. After reading the appointments of civil and military officials, the eunuch picked up another scroll. Additionally, establishing the Chun family ancestral temple, establishing the society, posthumously honoring the ancestors of the Chun family. Henceforth, the Chun family shall eternally be our great Shang's immortal divine generals. Establishing the ancestral temple, posthumously honoring ancestors. This was truly the zenith of ministerial glory. What did this signify? Henceforth, the Chun family became the most esteemed family in this world, second only to the Chow family. Bluntly put, adding the even higher honors of 9 other conferred, bearing the heavenly sun sword, riding the heavenly sun's golden chariot, ascending the heavenly sun's banner, it would practically equate to being the emperor's assistant. In a moment, all civil and military officials were left dumbfounded. On one hand, they were apprehensive of Chun Sansi reaching the zenith of ministerial glory at such a young age. On the other hand, they marveled at the Orthodox emperor's trust in the white robe. This minister accepts the decree with gratitude. Chun Sansi stood upright at the forefront, gently cupping his hands. Beloved minister, no need for excessive courtesy. The Orthodox emperor, Chao Huan, remarked, I heard that you and my 12th brother are sworn brothers, which means you and I are also brothers. As I am a few years older than you, if you don't mind, you may call me brother in the future. Looking back over 2 millennia of history, there was once the Great Wei's Shun emperor, who acknowledged the entrusted minister Feng Shengguan as the assistant father, unifying 4 countries, creating the Great Wei's golden era. Also, the former Yan's Ming emperor honored Yi Mingbo with the rights of a master all his life. Chapter 753. Sword and shoes enter the palace. No hastening in the court. 2. There was also the founding father of the great Jin dynasty, Gan Yu, who repeatedly advised the reckless Emperor Ingzong to no avail. He then expelled him from the court and exiled him to a remote place, personally taking control of the government. But when Emperor Ingzong repented, he was brought back and returned to power, and Emperor Ingzong bore no grudge against him. Instead, he treated him generously in his later years and gave him a grand imperial burial after his death. Then there was the chief minister of the Great Sui dynasty, Huokua, who deposed the incompetent Emperor Chong, established Emperor Huan, and revived the Great Sui. The ruler and his minister lived in harmony and mutual respect. These pairs of monarchs and ministers trusted each other and complemented one another, achieving a legendary partnership. Today, the Orthodox emperor of the Great Qing dynasty, Chao Huan, in front of the civil and military officials, spoke of the Chao family and the Chun family as sworn brothers, clearly intending to create another enduring tale of a monarch and his minister. Your subject dares not presume. Chen Sansi said this. He naturally understood what the other party meant. Moreover, the sworn brotherhood with Chao Ji essentially did not exist. Initially, in Taihu Prefecture, Chao Ji came to pay respects, leaving no chance for refusal. The situation is the same now. Before he finished speaking, he heard Chao Huan say, Aiching, no need to be restrained. I am not jesting. If not for Aiching raising troops in Beiliang to support me, the Jiang Mountain of the Great Shang dynasty might have fallen into the hands of the Yan party. Looking around this court, there is no one more trustworthy than Aiching. Today, I leave a decree in front of the full court. Beloved ministers, listen well, remember, and act accordingly. After my demise, if any faint-hearted or unethical descendant emperor of the Great Shang dynasty emerges, Beiliang King Chun Sansi may undertake the actions of Ganyu and Huokua, justified by righteousness. Undertake actions of Ganyu and Huokua. In just a few words, in front of all the people, Chun Sansi was endowed with the honorable title of Loyal Minister for the Ages. And then, giving no chance for refusal, the Orthodox Emperor Chao Huan said, with the new court established, many tasks require the dedicated efforts of all beloved ministers, and I hope Aiching will work with me to save this Jiang Mountain society. Today's court session ends here. Chun Aiching, Minister Ming, you may discuss the upcoming military affairs in detail during this period. And once everything is prepared, embark on the grand campaign to the south. Having said that, he got up and left. The Chamberlain of Ritual Supervision loudly proclaimed, court adjourned. The court session ended. The civil and military officials did not disperse but gathered to offer congratulations or extend invitations. Mr. Chan, you truly are the pillar of our great Shang dynasty now. Indeed, securing the Jiang Mountain relies on Mr. Chun. Mr. Chun, do you have some time today? And would you honor us by coming to my residence for a gathering? Military affairs are busy. Forgive me for not accompanying. Chun Sansi declined them one by one, then left the Great Hall. After the establishment of the new dynasty, the court officials primarily consisted of 2 parts. One part was the officials from the capital city who fled with King Jin Chaohuan and those who defected from various places. The other part consisted of families and sects from various states. Following the chaos in the world, families and sects immediately re-emerged and showcased an astonishing foundation. They exceeded the records in the court archives concerning supplies, troops, and even martial artists of high realm. It's truly a case of transient emperors but enduring families. If this time King Jin, or the Orthodox Emperor, can truly secure the Jiang Mountain, then the court will likely return to the early days of the Great Qing dynasty, where sects and families wielded considerable power. But that is a matter for later. The most crucial matter now is how to win the upcoming battle. Their power is still integrating, while the court's forces are ready. Despite abandoning the eastern and southern regions, they still hold a million-strong army. Moreover, with cultivators from the Skywater continent entering the Divine continent, and possibly the kin of martial cultivator Ling Yun from the Mang Mountain ancestor vein joining this grand showdown. Overall, it remains a tough battle. Upon returning, Chun Sansi must carefully plan his own forces, supplies, marching routes, and possible scenarios, in addition to training, which leaves him almost no free time every day. Yangxin Palace. After the court session, the Orthodox Emperor Chao Huan went to the back of the hall, looking at King Yen Chao Ji, with his hands behind his back, lamenting, "12th brother, I listened to your advice and gave him all that I could give to Chun Sansi. Now, he's just short of sitting beside me on the dragon chair. My emperor," Chao Ji said nonchalantly. "Half of our troops are under his control. If we do not show sufficient respect, why would he pledge allegiance to us?" But the Orthodox Emperor Chao Huan frowned and said, "12th brother, don't you worry that once the great achievement is realized, Chun Sansi, with his high personal strength and tens of thousands of iron cavalry, might declare independence with his troops? People, like beasts when fed, have no other thoughts, and today when the emperor compared him to Ganyu and Huokua, he has already been tied to righteousness. If he were to rebel in the future, it would be intolerable to the world." Chao Ji said quietly. Moreover, the emperor should not consider the Guiyuan sect a mere display. Guanyin is on father's side, as well as ours, but not on Chun Sansi's side. All right, Chao Huan nodded thoughtfully. I will now promulgate today's rewards for Chun Sansi throughout the land, letting everyone know that our great Qing dynasty grants him a grace as weighty as a mountain. Chapter 754. Sword and shoes enter the palace. No hastening in the court. 3. End of August. The new dynasty issued proclamations across the world. The world knew that the new emperor of the Chao family was benevolent, treating the white robe with brotherly courtesy. Not only was he designated as the regent while still alive, but he was also given the power of Ganyu and Huokua, treating them almost as family, a treatment unprecedented in history. Early September. Shortly after the establishment of the new dynasty, the court launched a western expedition to the south, which went smoothly. Apart from a few states putting up resistance, most surrendered at the first sign of trouble. Half of Central Plains fell into their hands. Yulu State, Yulon Prefecture. This place temporarily served as the capital of the new dynasty, with all aspects undergoing final preparations. Wulong and Phoenix gathered briefly here. Mr. Fong. Su Wenkai, departing from his usual insistence on traveling by carriage, briskly approached with a feather fan in hand to greet him with a bow. It's been a long time. Cough, cough, cough. Fong Qingyun, intending to greet him with a smile, was overtaken by a severe coughing fit, finally calming down after spitting out a mouthful of dark clotted blood. Mr. Fong. Su Wenkai quickly stepped forward, offering a handkerchief. It's only been a few years. How did Mr. Fong's health deteriorate so? It's an old ailment. Fong Qingyun, after a long pause to catch his breath, weakly replied. I was merely enduring it before. It's been like a candle flickering in the wind for some time. This isn't right? Su Wenkai said. I'll go find the master. The master is now practicing immortal law and can refine immortal pills. Surely he can find a way to cure you. He's not a Daluo golden immortal. How can he bring deadwood back to life? Fong Qingyun said calmly. Let's discuss serious matters. After the new dynasty was established, regarding their kindness to my junior brother, what does Mr. Su think? Sigh. Su Wenkai, pushing him to the pavilion, sighed slightly. It's merely a strategy to occupy the moral high ground early on, to firmly bind the master, forcing him to pledge allegiance to them. But it's still better than the current emperor Longqing. After the war ends, regardless of the outcome, the master, relying on his martial arts cultivation, along with tens of thousands of iron cavalry, can occupy the entire 5 northern states, slowly biding his time and waiting for the right moment. No. Fong Qingyun shook his head, saying, time is not on our side. Oh. Su Wenkai nodded. Mr. Fong, are you saying there might be further threats? My understanding of both martial arts and the immortal path is limited. In this regard, I'm indeed lacking greatly. Certain things, our junior brother needs us to do for him. Fong Qingyun said. When necessary, give him a push. Mang Mountain ancestor vein. This place has been in a constant state of war. However, from the Battle of Ming State to the Battle of Guandu within a few short years, 2 major defeats were suffered. West Qi, unlike Dongqing and Nansu country, was already at its wit's end. Additionally, the morale shattered by the White Robe in the Battle of Guandu, despite Luoya Valley's strong support, brought no results in the past 6 months. Later on, cultivators from Luoya Valley could only resort to assassination attempts. But the Ling family's ancestor from Heavenly Water was a true power middle-stage martial artist, equivalent to a foundation establishment stage cultivator. Without equivalent combat strength from Luoya Valley, there was little they could do. In just 6 months, they suffered severe losses and were forced to give up. Within a certain gorge, several Ling family cultivators surged forth, all wielding long, whip-like swords, using water element true power to summon torrents of beasts, attacking the retreating Luoya Valley cultivators and slaughtering them. After accomplishing this, they activated their flying talismans, soaring towards the mountains behind. Summit of Mang Mountain, edge of the cliff. A man and woman stood there. The man was the current patriarch of the Sky Water Ling family, Ling Kuei. Ling Kuei, though over 90 years old, looked no older than his prime, thanks to having taken a youth-preserving pill long ago. Unlike all other Ling family members, he did not wield a soft sword but carried a broadsword across his back. Gazing into the distant mountains and rivers, he spoke lightly. "Your brother is dead. Old ancestor, I know." The woman's eyes burned with hatred. "I will personally avenge Ling Yun on this trip." "Must you go?" With a stalk of foxtail grass in his mouth, Ling Kuei raised an eyebrow. "You're just a step away from breaking through to the true power middle stage. Why not wait another couple of years instead of risking it now? What I seek is clarity of mind." Ling Ling's voice was icy. "If old ancestor doesn't allow me to participate in the battle, unable to personally avenge my brother, I fear I won't be able to focus on martial arts training henceforth. Go if you must." Ling Kuei did not press further. "When you young ones reach the battlefield, don't be headstrong. Leave the matters of military strategy to the generals and the military family. You just need to focus on killing. Once we've dealt with the elders of Luoya Valley, I shall personally join the fray. Remember this. This is a battle for the survival of our Ling family. For martial arts practitioners, the path is fraught with obstacles. If not for the depletion of the spirit veins in their clan, they would never risk the whole family in such a dangerous endeavor. Granddaughter will heed these words." Ling Ling departed. Capital City. Zhongjua Hall. "What did you say?" Crack. Upon hearing the news, Prince Qin shattered a teacup he had just picked up, roaring in rage. "Ascend the throne! What throne is Lao Lu ascending? Father is still alive. Your Highness, please calm down." The eunuch delivering the message knelt to the ground. King Jin announced to the public that His Majesty had left the mortal world for the cultivation world, deceiving many people in the process. Chapter 755. Sword and shoes enter the palace. No hastening in the court _4. "Shame! Shame!" Prince Qin's face and neck turned red with anger, and the veins on his forehead bulged. He even appointed himself a reign title, calling it orthodox. What kind of orthodoxy is he? He has utterly disgraced the ancestral faces of the Chao family. What about the emperor? Prince Qi was equally indignant. While they were still busy in the court, that bastard Lao Lu had directly ascended to the throne and proclaimed himself emperor. Bring the emperor out. The rumors will be dispelled naturally. You mustn't, Your Highness. The eunuchs hastily blocked him. The emperor is at a critical stage of his retreat now, and he must not be disturbed. Humph! Prince Qin snorted coldly. This is preposterous. Chao Huan, as part of the Chao family, now wants to kill his brothers and father, which is against the principles of heaven. And that Chun Sansi. They even set up some enter the palace wearing sword and boots, enter the court with dignity for Chun Sansi, claiming he is their great protector. Why not just give him the dragon chair to sit on? All in an effort to flatter the Bailiang army. It is utterly sycophantic. The atmosphere inside the hall was heavy. Your Highness, Minister of Personnel Ming Chun said, currently, King Jin and the Bailiang army have joined forces, occupying 12 states, with numerous troops and ample provisions, and they are still recruiting more soldiers. Coupled with the constant raids by the Nan Su traders, their forces will likely grow even stronger. Thankfully, Minister of Revenue Tian Guang said, our court's eastern, southern troops, plus those stationed in the capital city, have amassed a total of 1.5 million soldiers. As long as we defend each pass firmly, we can definitely buy enough time. Mr. Tian speaks rightly. Yen Maoxing continued. Our army currently has sufficient troops and provisions, and without the pressure of offense, we can perfectly wait for the rebel army to exhaust themselves traveling long distances. This is known as resting while the enemy labors. No. A man seemingly in his 20s, yet wearing a brand new crimson robe embroidered with the immortal crane, had astonishingly reached the high rank of standard first rank. Oh! Prince Qi looked at him and said, Lord Zhou, what are your thoughts? Feel free to speak. Zhou Rong, the chief of the 12 marshals in the Qilin Pavilion, the first great merit holder state Duke Zhao of the country, Zhou Tao's only surviving family member. At 18, he topped the martial arts exam of his time, and according to the rules, should have started from positions like assistant general, gradually advancing. But he petitioned the court, claiming, the Zhou family stands at the pinnacle, holding up dashing. Descendants should command the 3 armies and quash the rebels of the world, not serve as mere officers. And directly demanded the Minister of War position and the rank of General of Cavalry, wanting to directly oversee all military forces. The cabinet naturally denied him, calling him a boastful child, sending him to the garrison around the capital city. Unexpectedly, he directly resigned, returning home to a life of singing and dancing, without concern for potential punishment from the court. Later, in light of his lineage, he was not severely punished, but he was also not utilized in any way, remaining idle at home for 9 full years. Until recently, after Mu Fengchuan's defeat, the court's esteemed veterans collectively recommended him for the position of Minister of War. Reportedly, before the Battle of Guandu was decided, Zhou Rong had predicted Han Xiang's defeat, saying, "The military immortal leaves no strategies unplanned, but if defeated, it would surely be due to the word immortal, for immortals seek longevity, and treasuring life is a great taboo in the military. A moment's retreat will lead to complete loss." At that time, many laughed scornfully. In the end, the prediction came true. Of course, Zhou Rong's direct appointment as Minister of War wasn't solely due to his mastery of military strategy, but because the court's long-declined noble families needed an opportunity. Furthermore, the court truly had no capable people left. The likes of Gao Bo, later Ming Qingfeng, and more recently Mu Fengchun on the court, no one qualified to spar with the white robe remained, so they had to both restore old idle ministers and select young talents. An immortal master will help next, but the court cannot rely entirely on cultivators. They must identify new talents that can be heavily relied upon. Previously, Mr. Yen said our 1.5 million troops could defend the passes and wait for the rebel army to march south, resting while they labor, but in my view, Zhou Rong paused and emphasized, this is sitting and waiting for death. Indeed, the court still has 1.5 million soldiers, but they need to simultaneously garrison 6 states, requiring a heavy presence in as many as 12 cities. In contrast, the rebel army has won consecutive victories over the past 6 months. After King Jin presumptuously proclaimed himself emperor, he deceived many to submit, and now the entire northern half of the Central Plains is in their hands, with vast territory and as many as 8 routes to send troops simultaneously. That Chun Sansi is cunning and treacherous. Besides me, who else among you can contend with him now? Once we divide our forces too much, I would inevitably be short-handed, and should he find a flaw and break through, it's only a matter of time. Therefore, we mustn't sit and wait for death, but rather, gather forces and launch a northern expedition to quell the rebellion. Only by doing so can we change from passive to active. Initiate the attack. Since Bailiang raised troops in rebellion, they have not faced defeat. Even the seemingly very perilous Hongdu prefecture, in fact, saw only a loss of a little over 1,000 at Hongza camp, which, on the broader scale, can almost be said to be no loss at all. Currently, the Bailiang army has further united with King Jin's troops, receiving assistance from various sects and families, significantly enhancing their supplies, provisions, and manpower. With the support of the White Robe and the Guiyuan sect, their strength is unprecedentedly elevated. In such circumstances, not only are they not retracting their defenses, but they even plan to take the offensive. Chapter 756. Sword steps into the hall, entering court without haste _5. Hee. Yen Maoxing said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Lord Zhou, you are truly like a newborn calf that does not fear the tiger. Indeed, Lord Zhou. Minister of Personnel in Ming Chun echoed. It's not that we doubt your abilities. It's just that Chun Sansi is truly difficult to deal with. If we can avoid a direct confrontation with him, it's best to do so. This is called avoiding the sharp edge. Besides, we have the advantage of timing on our side. Our main task is to guard the precarious position and hold the capital city. As long as His Majesty emerges, all problems will be resolved easily, rather than creating more trouble. We really cannot afford to lose again. Years of warfare. Everything has already reached its limit. 1.5 million troops, though a large number, but if a major defeat occurs, it will be like a landslide, irreparable. Inside Zhongjua Hall. After Zhou Rong finished expressing his thoughts, besides Prince Qin squinting his eyes and staring at the sand table in front of him, the other civil and military officials whispered among themselves, sighing in despair. The entire court was in a state of despondency. At this sight, it seems you all have truly been scared out of your wits by Chun Sansi. Zhou Rong couldn't help but laugh coldly. After drawing everyone's attention, he suddenly reprimanded sternly. If the court is left with only you mice, the nation will be on the brink of ruin. Mice? You impudent brat. Prince Qi angrily said. You have no merit or name. How dare you speak such outrageous words? Yin Mingchun also gritted his teeth and said restrainedly. His Highness and the cabinet gave you a chance to participate in national strategy due to the recommendation of many old ministers in the court. But it seems that Lord Zhou is so arrogant that he might not be capable of taking on this great responsibility. Enough! Regent King Qin interrupted everyone's quarrel and said in a deep voice. In my opinion, Lord Zhou is right. The more timid we are, the more mistakes we make. What's more, the court still has 1.5 million troops. 1.5 million. Cast spears to block the river. It should be Chun Sansi who fears us, not the other way around. Your Highness, the old minister also supports Lord Zhou's strategy. This cannot be, Your Highness. Why not? Inside the hall, it gradually split into 2 factions. One faction advocated for holding firm and not moving. The other believed they should take the initiative to strike, advancing by retreating. In the end, Prince Qin had everyone vote, with the conservatives standing on the left side of the hall, and the hawks standing on the right side of the hall. In the end, even counting the two princes, the numbers of the two factions were exactly equal. I think we should take the initiative to strike. As both sides were in a stalemate, a loud voice suddenly rang out. A long shadow appeared at the entrance of the hall in the sunset, followed by a dignified and imposing man in a blue robe with cloud patterns walking in unhurriedly. He wore a jade pendant on his waist and carried a bamboo flute in his hand. With an air of detachment, he leisurely walked to the center of the hall, cupped his hands lightly, and calmly introduced himself. I am Dan Liangcheng, an array master of the Shangyun sect, sent by the sect to assist the Great Shang court in suppressing the rebellion, and also to avenge my fellow disciples. So it's Immortal Master Dan. Prince Qi respectfully said. The ritual supervision informed us in advance that when Immortal Master Dan arrives, all major military strategies should be under the Immortal Master's command. All the officials in the hall, regardless of rank, cupped their hands in respect. A few days back, the list of disciples from the Shangyun sect coming to support had been sent to the capital city in advance. This Dan Liangcheng is a true disciple of the Shangyun sect, at the Qi Refining Perfection 9th level, a second-tier array master. Before entering the Sky-Water continent, he had once commanded a mortal army, helping a wise sovereign unify the world within just 5 years, writing Dan's military strategy. He's also a master of war and a chess friend of soldier Immortal Han Xiang.
Soldier Immortal Han Xiang
Is the only person in the world today who has ever pushed the white robe to the brink using strategy. Therefore, everyone placed high hopes on him, only to not expect. This person also supports taking the initiative to strike. Gentlemen, Dan Liangcheng went to the large sand table, pointing with his bamboo flute at mountains and rivers, and said, as this Lord Zhou has said, since we have many troops, we should capitalize on the advantage of having numerous troops. If we forcefully divide and guard them, we'll only be defeated one by one. Only by taking the initiative to strike can we force the rebel army to concentrate their forces and face our army. Good. Prince Qin, who was already inclined to take the initiative, immediately agreed. Since even Immortal Master Dan believes we should take the initiative to strike, there's nothing more to debate. From now, let's start discussing the detailed northern campaign strategy. The other officials dared not raise any more objections. Lord Zhou. Dan Liangcheng gestured invitingly and said, why don't you start by sharing your thoughts? The so-called taking the initiative to strike means attacking where the enemy must defend, forcing them to act according to our plans. Zhou Rong spoke eloquently. Currently, the rebel army occupies half of the central plains. No matter which land we attack, they can advance or retreat except for Shouyang. Shouyang is the key waterway hub in the central plains and the throat of the rebel court. Once we capture it, their troop strength and grain transport will be greatly affected, and to continue moving south, their costs will need to be multiplied. Furthermore, our Imperial Navy can press down along the waterways at any time, making them not dare to leave Yulu State even half a step, lest they lose their entire rear. Thus, for this northern campaign, we split our troops in two. One path will be personally led by me, heading north straight to Shouyang. The other path will be commanded by a high realm cultivator from the west, pressing Chun Sansi to come out and fight. If not, the Western Army could directly strike Bailiang, destroying their back line. Chapter 757. Sword steps into the hall, entering court without haste _6. Sounds good. Yan Maoxing nodded and said, but Lord Zhou, are you not aware that the city of Shouyang is tall and fortified? If you lay siege for a long time without success, and Chun Sansi attacks from the west, wouldn't you be left without a retreat? I, Zhou, will capture Shouyang before Chun Sansi achieves victory. Otherwise, I am willing to face military justice. In Zhou Rong's calm tone, there was an indescribable confidence and vigor, so much so that even the conservatives were somewhat skeptical, not daring to easily dismiss him. Lord Zhou's arrangements are indeed remarkable. Dan Liangcheng did not voice any objections but instead marveled. To have Zhou Lang among you is truly a blessing for the Great Shang court. The two of them, although strangers, appeared at this moment to have a great rapport, as if they could read each other's minds. Good. Prince Qin, the Regent King, made a decisive statement. Proceed as Lord Zhou has suggested. As for the number of men, ships, and provisions required, and whom to appoint as generals, feel free to speak. For this king trusts in his people without doubt and does not use those he doubts. The details of provisions and ships have been calculated by this minister 6 months in advance. I will write a petition to submit to the cabinet, and your highness only needs to review it. However, Zhou Rong briefly closed his eyes, letting out a sigh of sorrow. There are no great generals in the court. No great generals in the court. In recent years, countries like Nansu have repeatedly lost soldiers and commanders, and so has the Great Shang court. From Dong and of Ming State years ago to various members of the Crown Prince faction, and recently Prince Zhan and Chao Rong and Jiang Yuanhua, the death of each commander would implicate a large group of mid to high level generals. These mid to high level generals might not participate in major decision-making, but during military campaigns, they are absolutely indispensable. They are the backbone of stability for the army, the key for the army to act as an extension of one's arm. But now the court, no one can be used. Mr. Yen can make a recommendation. The young pavilion master Yen Maoxing continued, taking out a prepared list from his bosom. On this list are military officers from in and around the capital city in recent years, all diligent and loyal, and it's time to properly cultivate them. Young pavilion master. Prince Qi glanced at the prince regent, then said with some difficulty, "Are you sure these people can be heavily relied upon? The court already has no retreat. If the wrong person is used, it will result in irreversible disaster." His words were euphemistic, but everyone present had served as officials for many years and knew exactly what he meant. Yen Maoxing. This was an attempt to take advantage of the opportunity to insert a batch of Yen family protégés into the military. Such factional collusion, a collaboration between civil and military officials, has always been a grave taboo for the court. Yet, at this moment no one raised any objections. Because, after the former Minister of War Ming Qingfeng left, there was no division between parties in the court, with everyone being part of the Yen party. Even Prince Qin became the regent with the support of the Yen party. Under such circumstances, even if Prince Qin and Prince Qi did not want to agree, they had no choice but to agree. Young pavilion master. Only Zhou Rong bluntly pointed out, "Now is the time of life and death for our court, and you are still contemplating factional collusion?" Factional collusion? Yen Maoxing argued. "Mr. Yen recommending virtues for the nation, what selfish motives could there be?" "Whether there are selfish motives, you know yourself," Zhou Rong said coldly. "If not for your Yen family causing trouble, how could the court have reached the point of having no one to use? Your Highness, if it really won't work, I'll select and use young people from the Imperial Army." Prince Qin pondered. "Both of you submit a list, and I will personally select some for deployment." While discussing state affairs, the chief eunuch of ritual supervision came into the hall. "Your Highness, outside the Great Ming Palace, many former courtiers have come today, saying they request to see your Highness." "Former courtiers?" Prince Qin asked. "Who are they?" The chief eunuch of ritual supervision bowed and said, "There is Elder Yen, Elder Zheng, Lord Zhang Jingwu. They claim to know the court's dire situation and have come specially to request to fight." "Them?" Yen Maoxing's expression tensed. Everyone present began to discuss in a flurry. "These people are all those who were demoted. For instance, the former Upper Pillar country Yen Hongyuan, who once remonstrated to stop the emperor from laboring the people and exhausting resources during the construction of the Longevity Palace, hoping to use manpower and resources for disaster relief, was demoted. For instance, the former state duke Zhang Ran, who once memorialized against the calamity caused by spiritual grain, and was demoted. The former assistant minister of war and general cavalry Zhang Jingwu, who once impeached the Yen party's actions during the change from rice to mulberry, ended up exiled along with his entire family. The former minister of revenue Qi Dongping. All in all, these people are civil and military officials that the court had once expelled with their own hands. But at this moment they had actually come to the door themselves. "Let them in," Prince Qin said. Very soon, led by the eunuchs, the elderly ministers, with hair grizzled and wearing plain clothes, entered the great hall, bowing and saluting, their voices resonating together powerfully. "Minister Yen Hongyuan."
Minister Zheng Ren.
"Minister." After announcing their names, they collectively shouted, "We ministers request to fight, to march north and suppress the rebellion." You. Yen Maoxing's eyes widened. "You don't hold any official positions. What does the battlefield have to do with you? The rise and fall of the world is the responsibility of every person. The rebellion of Bailiang is surging powerfully, and the Jiang Mountain and society are in imminent danger. How can we stand idly by? Moreover, we were once courtiers. Yen Maoxing, you also needn't worry, we haven't returned to discipline you. After the battle is over, if we survive, we will naturally retire and return to seclusion." Saying this, the group of elderly ministers raised their voices again, filled with passion and deafening. "Prince Qin, your Highness, we are all willing to be the vanguard against the rebels of Bailiang. Fight to the death." Good. Prince Qin suddenly stood up, exclaiming 3 times. "With such loyal ministers, why worry? The great Shang court won't last for eternity. I will take charge. Return all of you to your original positions, and from today, follow Zhou Rong to march north against the rebels. The Jiang Mountain and society rely entirely on you. This battle is the decisive battle. One battle to determine the universe. This was their great Shang courts. Fight with their backs against the wall." Chapter 758 Dashing Zhoulang, Unrivaled Open Strategy. No newcomers in the court, old generals leading the charge. These loyal ministers of the court do not seek refuge in times of crisis. Even when the new dynasty of King Jin offered them generous treatment, many still found ways to enter the capital city from the state offices occupied by the rebel army. A few days later, the strategy for the northern expedition of the court was finalized, and execution began in secret. Lord Zhou. Before parting, Dan Liangcheng of the Shenyun sect called out to the descendant of the head of the Qilin Pavilion who was about to leave, saying, "This mission to attack Shouyang is fraught with dangers. Please be cautious, brother." Immortal Master Dan need not worry about me. Zhou Rong paused at the threshold, slowly turned around, and gently bowed. The army of 1,000,000 is entrusted to Immortal Master Dan. Officially, as a true inheritor of the sect, I must relieve the sect's concerns. Personally, Chun Sansi killed my fellow disciples and destroyed my Taoist friends. If I do not avenge this, my mind will remain unsettled. Dan Liangqing also bowed. So Zhou Lang can rest assured. I will do my utmost, not failing the trust placed in me. Zhou Rong spoke no more, only nodded gently, then resolutely turned and stepped over the threshold, stepping into the brightness of the scorching sun, until he finally disappeared into the shadows of the palace gate. In late August of the 77th year of the Longqing era of the Shang dynasty, the court appointed Zhou Rong as the governor of the supervisory military office, with Prince Qi accompanying as supervisor, leading an army of 400,000 by land and water, moving north to Lu State to attack Shouyang City. Dan Liangqing of the Shangyun sect stayed in the rear, dispatching 150,000 troops from the western ancient temples north through Lingfeng Mountain to attack Mao State, directly threatening the heart of the northern territory. 2 routes combined, totaling 550,000 troops, consuming countless supplies and provisions. Yulu State, Yulan Capital, Taiji Palace. Reporting to your majesty. Ming Qingfeng, Minister of War, stepped forward. The rebels of Chang'an have already dispatched 2 armies northward, one advancing via land and water to attack Lu State, the other heading west to attack Mao State, totaling 550,000 troops. How dare these rebels attempt a northern expedition? Emperor Chao Huan was evidently caught off guard, quickly saying, Dear ministers, what countermeasures do you propose? Among the 2 armies, Zhou Rong commands a large force, but the troops under Dan Liangqing's command in the west have more high-level cultivators. Both routes target critical areas. Ming Qingfeng said with some concern, especially Lu State's Shouyang, which is our court's waterway hub, critical to half the nation's waterways. If lost, the consequences would be unimaginable. Luoshao River, the largest river in the central plains of the entire Great Qing dynasty, connecting north and south, linking countless cities, with developed freight transport and numerous docks. Transporting troops can conserve the soldiers' energy, allowing them to endure long marches without exhaustion. Transporting provisions can greatly reduce losses. When transporting grain overland, starting with 10 stones of grain, only 1 stone might remain upon reaching the front lines. This massive waste is avoided via water transport, especially crucial when provisions are precious due to years of warfare. Minimizing losses is extremely critical. In an attack, it allows for swift troop movements, achieving surprise with victory from unexpected strikes. Therefore, control of the waterway hub has always been a strategic military priority. If that's the case, the Minister of Personnel, also the Grand Scholar of the Wanyuan Pavilion, Fu Kejin spoke. Naturally, Bailiang should be dispatched to guard Shouyang. Fu Keyin, a person from Yu State in Bailiang whose father had a close relationship with Sun Xiangzong, actively supporting Bailiang's uprising after responding positively during the unrest in Liangzhou, playing a significant role in stabilizing Yu State and coordinating the rear. At the start of the uprising, perhaps just the Bailiang troops' call to arms was needed. But after the uprising, a reliable civil servant was required to assist in maintaining order at the rear. And after Bailiang's submission to the new dynasty, to express sincerity, the new dynasty naturally employed a batch of Bailiang military administrators as civil servants to serve in the court. Among the 8 cabinet members, 2 are from Bailiang. Another 3 are officials from the noble families and sects. The final 3 are confidants of the Orthodox Emperor, officials from the capital city. The number of Bailiang officials in the court is not the highest, but they certainly have a voice because Bailiang holds military power. Moreover, among the noble families and sects, there is one special presence. The Sima family. They hail from the Sky-Water continent. The head of the family, Sima Yao, is a true power early-stage martial cultivator, following cultivators from the Guiyuan sect to the eastern continent, clearly preparing to settle the family here, to take root and establish never to leave again. At this moment, after hearing Minister of Personnel Fu Kejin's words, Sima Yao immediately objected. Inappropriate. The Bailiang army has always been stationed on the western route of the Central Plains. The defense of Lu State is better handled by the court's own troops. If Lu State were also handed over to Bailiang, then the Bailiang army would essentially control the lifeline of the Central Plains. This is absolutely unacceptable to Sima Yao as well as many noble families and sects. Lord Sima, Fu Kejin countered. The matter of Shouyang is of great importance. If any issue arises, the enemy army could traverse the waterway unimpeded, rendering it difficult to stop. It's better to let the Liang Wang go there to ensure peace of mind. Indeed, indeed. Officials from the Bailiang faction voiced their agreement. Dear ministers, Sima Yao emphasized, do not forget, although the Western Route army is not large, it has many high-realm cultivators. Only if the Bailiang king leads the expedition himself can we ensure zero risk. On the contrary, the defense of Shouyang City is by me and seeking Immortal Tower and Guiyuan sect taking command. It's enough to hold the city. Lord Sima, why the greed for achievement? Fu Kejin continued. In this dire time for the court, we should work together with one mind rather than harboring personal interests and acting in discord. Chapter 759 Zhou Lang, Unrivaled strategy _2. Is this Lord speaking about you, sir? Sima Yao glanced at him. Or are you speaking about yourself? No clear statement was made. However, all the officials present understood. This was a warning for the Bailiang army to exercise restraint. Factional strife had begun once again. Regardless of the era of prosperity or the fall of a nation, struggles in the court are endless. Yet, at this moment, in the court of the new dynasty, Bailiang had also become one of the factions. Even if the white robes did not benefit, they were also trying to secure interests for the Bailiang army, for their own benefit. Lord Sima, what do you mean by that? Fu Kajin said in a deep voice. I am entirely for the court, and I hope Lord Sima will not measure the heart of a gentleman with a petty mind. For a moment, the two sides argued incessantly. Your Majesty, may I speak? Among the crowd of officials, a young official wearing a scarlet robe, embroidered with a peacock, spoke up. Wulong disciple Qi Cheng. After the establishment of the new dynasty, he was appointed as the Assistant Minister of War of the Standard Third Rank, granted the literary merit of Counselor for Governing Affairs. Now, most of the Bailiang army was stationed outside, and among those left in the court, he was considered one of the core Bailiang forces and spoke with a certain representation. Emperor Chao Huan said solemnly, Minister Qi, feel free to speak. I think. Qi Cheng stepped forward 2 paces. What Lord Sima proposed is more appropriate, with the Bailiang army first guarding the western route, while the Imperial army is responsible for defending Shouyang, protecting the capital city. Lord Qi. Fu Kajin and others looked at him, surprised that a Wulong disciple would speak on behalf of the opposing side, puzzled in their hearts, but they couldn't persist further. This young Lord Qi truly understands the bigger picture. Sima Yao praised, Your Majesty, please issue the order. Very well, as Minister Qi is a Wulong disciple. His words should represent part of Wulong's intention. Under these urgent circumstances, I shall make a temporary appointment, and if the Bailiang king has any objections to this arrangement, he can inform me at any time, and I will make adjustments as necessary. The final decision of the Orthodox Emperor. In the early September of the 77th year of Longqing in the Julian calendar, Shang Shenzong Chao Huan appointed Sima Yao as the governor of Lu State, bestowed the title of Dragon Tiger General, and led 70,000 troops to guard Shouyang, dispatching 150,000 troops from the Bailiang army south to Mao State to resist the western route troops. Taizhou, State City, Bailiang army garrison, Central Army tent. As the abnormal fire burned out, the array patterns on the alchemy furnace extinguished one by one, and all activity came to a halt until complete calm was restored. Several first-rank elixirs, clear spirit pills, were successfully concocted, with the interface reappearing. Skill, Alchemy, first rank. Progress, 256/500. With Chun Sansi's relentless efforts, his alchemy proficiency finally surpassed the halfway mark, which was also credited to talisman painting and array formation studies. These skills all required using divine sense, and they complemented each other, slightly accelerating the cultivation speed of various skills. If he could quickly break through to the second tier in alchemy skills, whether for martial arts resources or for refining foundation establishment pills after practicing the swallowing fire technique, it would be of great help. Skill, Talisman painting, first rank. Progress, 129/500. After finishing these tasks, Chun Sansi took out several banners only as long as a forearm, and a round wooden plate, holding a pointed tool, constantly carving runes onto the wood plate, some runes being as fine as a strand of hair. In the process of engraving, spirit stones, spirit sand, mana, and various materials were needed.
Formation.
After successively scrapping 4 array plates, it was only on the 5th engraving that Chun Sansi finally succeeded. With a wave of his hand, the array plate flew several meters away along with the array flags, bursting with spirit light in midair, then suddenly dropping, directly sinking into the ground, leaving no trace visible on the surface. He formed hand seals, chanting incantations, remotely controlling the operation of the formation, immediately causing chains of golden light to extend from the ground, wrapping around the training stakes like pythons, under terrifying power, directly snapping the stakes into countless flying splinters. Earth Prison Array. Used to restrict the opponent's movement, considered a first-tier array. Skill, Array Formation, first rank. Progress, 0/500. Utility, 1 breath. After the first rank of array formation, the acquired entry and talisman painting were the same. Both were 1 breath. No matter how troublesome the formation was, once it successfully passed once, it would not fail again. The effect of 1 breath might look quite ordinary in the early stage, but as the rank gets higher and the formations encountered become deeper, its function becomes increasingly significant. According to the records in ancient texts, arranging high-tier formations is extremely complicated, and even the most accomplished array masters find it difficult to guarantee no mistakes when laying down a formation, many materials being extremely rare, where even a single mistake could waste the entire array plate, causing incalculable loss. The 100 skills of immortal cultivation, from elixirs, instruments, talismans to formations, each one connects to heaven and earth, to the ultimate truth. Formation is no exception, just like the grand formation of the Eastern continent. Someone once solely used formations to firmly seal the entire land. So much so that even the great cultivators of the cultivation world dared not cross half a step, sheltering the entire eastern continent. This shows how profound and unfathomable the power of truly high-tier formations can be. Having practiced skills, Chun Sansi then began practicing spells. He sat cross-legged on the ground, hands sealing and holding his breath, concentrating, producing small swords one after another in front of him, exceeding the original 20 swords limit, reaching 30 swords, 50 swords. Magic, 10,000 sword sky. Limit break second tier. Chapter 760 Dashing Zhoulang, Unrivaled Strategy _3. Progress. 0/2000. Utility. Store 50 swords, move as desired, follow the blade. The so-called move as desired, follow the blade, refers to the change in the usage of the sword chi skill. Previously, the sword chi skill was more like a bow and arrow. Once an arrow was shot, it could not be altered. But now, the sword chi skill can be, as if commanded by the arm, controlled at will. Buzz! Chun Sansi stood up. 50 strands of purple sword chi suddenly unfurled behind him. He casually performed a set of punches, throwing a punch forward, and more than a dozen sword chi surged out in the direction of the punch. If seen from afar, it would seem as if he was striking out sword chi with his fist. This is what is meant by move as desired. And it's the same when using spear techniques, considered an additional enhancement method. Dispel all the sword chi skills. In front of the white robe, a cracked earthen wall exuding shining spirit light was condensed, collapsing, condensing, then collapsing again, and recondensing with spells, repeating this process until one moment when the earthen wall fully split along the cracks into a dozen pieces. But they did not collapse further. Instead, they floated scattered around him, resembling irregularly shaped small shields. Spell, Thick Earth Decision, Small Achievement. Progress, 0/2000. Utility, Thick Earth Body Protection. Thick Earth Body Protection. It was different from before. When Chun Sansi used Thick Earth Decision for defense, it not only required incantations and gestures, but also needed continual hand seals to maintain it. However, upon reaching small achievement after casting, it only requires mana supply and no longer needs manual maintenance, making it equally more convenient. Sword Chi Skill and Thick Earth Decision. Both spells have now reached an extraordinary effectiveness. Unfortunately, the strength of spells and cultivation level are linked. Currently, he is still at the Chi Refining middle stage.
Cultivation technique, Swallowing Fire technique.
Chi Refining Level 5. Progress, 588/1200. Fortunately, with the improvement in Spirit Root grade, along with the elixir pills traded from the Bai family, the cultivation speed of Swallowing Fire technique currently far surpasses that of the Dragon Scripture, with a high probability of overtaking or even equalizing during the foundation establishment stage. The path of martial arts is difficult and worrisome, with resources and legacies being quite precious. Therefore, dual cultivation in martial and magic, using magic to assist martial arts, can reduce the difficulty. After finishing these, with a flash of spirit light in Chun Sansi's palm, he gripped the long dan bright silver spear, beginning to cultivate the Dragon Scripture. Under the nourishment of spiritual energy, the meridians within his body grew stronger day by day, and the dormant shrines began to awaken continuously. On the left side of his spine, the 5-colored spirit light became increasingly brilliant until it fused into one. Left kidney god, named Spring Primordial True, styled Daoqing, 3 inches 7 long, clothed in 5-colored impermanence, 6 of the 8 scenic gods in 3 departments. Cultivation technique, Dragon Scripture, True Power early stage. Progress, 377/500. Only 2 scenic gods left. Upon unlocking, he can break through to True Power middle stage. The martial arts True Power middle stage is equivalent to the foundation establishment early stage of magic cultivation. If able to possess a spirit vein in the heavenly water region, one already qualifies to establish a family. At the same time, it is also the highest realm that has appeared in the eastern continent thus far. Currently looking, Emperor Longqing's foundation establishment is most likely unstoppable, so we can only compete with raw strength. If the opponent succeeds in foundation establishment, he will also reach True Power early stage. Finishing the cultivation of these, subconsciously several days had passed. Gomein. Chun Sansi withdrew the long spear and spoke towards the outside of the tent. He noticed that someone had been waiting outside for an hour, but hadn't dared to come in to disturb him. My lord. Su Wenkai entered with a dispatch order, speaking leisurely. Not long ago, Chang'an dispatched troops for a northward expedition, dividing into 2 routes. One advanced both by land and water to take Luzhou, while the other went west to attack Maozhou. He said, taking out 2 letters, My lord, please look. One is intelligence from the new dynasty, the other from Chang'an. Initiative to the north? Within the court, there is actually someone with such courage. Chun Sansi took the letters and first examined the intelligence from Chang'an. It's a descendant of Zhou Tao, the first meritorious minister of the great Shang dynasty, named Zhou Rong. This person is young, about the same age as my lord, but with considerable expertise in military strategy. Su Wenkai narrated, Originally according to our initial plan, we would launch 8 routes next month. We only need to break through 2 or 3 to easily reach the capital city. As a result, with just this one maneuver, he forced both us and the new dynasty into an extremely passive situation, especially with the deployment of forces. Deploying a large number of troops in Luzhou, yet placing high realm cultivators on the west route, essentially forcing my lord to attack the west route while they seize the opportunity to attack Shouyang in your absence. This is the strategy of luring the tiger from the mountain. No, it should be called forcing the tiger from the mountain. In this world, all strategies, only the overt scheme is the hardest to break. Military families must know how to leverage strengths and avoid weaknesses. And Zhou Rong achieved it to the extreme, using the advantage of numerous troops in Chang'an to take the initiative, turning passive into active, firmly grasping the movements of the enemy army. This Zhou Rong, Chan Sansi said, is there a possibility to recruit him directly? In the past, they had no rights to negotiate. But now, with half the territory in hand, they could completely use this to attract many military officers and officials to surrender. I have already tried, offering high positions and great wealth. But this person is loyal and showed no signs of wavering. Su Wenkai lamented, thinking back to when Zhou Tao, during great ancestor Sheng Chaoxia's rise, once saved the critically injured Chaoxia from a chaotic army by taking 10 arrows himself. Later, he sold all his ancestral properties to recruit 3,000 troops to aid Chaoxia's comeback, frequently achieving remarkable feats, and was definitely the first meritorious minister during the founding of the great Sheng dynasty.